All right, so we will reopen this budget meeting, or budget work session, I should say. And we have Kevin Bethmansky here for IT. No, because it's a continuation. So for those following along, page 9, account number A1680.
Okay.
And
Oh, I did add it.
Contract for website.
You did have it? Still only small.
Okay. I'm just too efficient. That's my problem.
Okay.
Although this was printed clearer, so.
Okay.
yeah, so just reviewing my,
Shelby, on this column, on the, it's 236, and here it's 256.
2023.
Yeah. But in the adopted budget,
1618.
which one were you looking at?
okay, bottom line of Kevin's department, 2023, on the budget that Jerry gave to us, it has 236,000 for 2023 as a total. But Shelby's sheet gives us 256,000. So just wondering where the 20, website contract, right?
Oh,
Yes,
right.
That's it, right, okay.
Site
So that
contract, yeah,
modification.
that would be, yeah.
All right. So that, I'll make a note on here, that it's missing, or you've already changed it. You know what I'm saying?
It's probably in the modified. Is it in the modified column?
No, not on the original. Oh, yeah, but
It is, but then the total
is.
is adjust.
but how?
It's probably because we took out salaries to move
Okay,
them to their consolidated line.
okay,
So that's why it went lower a little bit.
all right.
Okay.
So we can,
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
yeah, because I'm, just kind of being amazed here at Kevin's financial acumen, that he comes in a little lower.
So are we adopting the 255, 228, 56? Is that what we're looking to do?
We're just going over, because I think, I'm just looking for where, I thought Jerry had put a cut in here someplace.
No, he added
a bunch,
town clerk software into the
yeah,
maintenance.
because his is
Right.
278, 675.
In,
That's right, he put it in IT, yeah.
okay, he added it in, but he took down the other, that's what it was. Okay, it's coming back to me. So he took away $7,980. That's what I was just looking for.
Okay,
And I don't remember his explanation, but I guess.
I had 4% in for the salary increases. He knocked it down to 3%, so I'm assuming that's where most of that was, right?
Yes. But no, the biggest change was that he took $8,000 out of the maintenance line. So the 99,980,
How can you take $8,000 out of my maintenance line? That's all,
well, that's,
Contractual.
you're here to explain it. Unfortunately, he's not here today to hear it, but he can go back.
Is there-
and listen to the tape.
Well,
I don't have a rundown of what he adjusted on mine. I just have the totals.
Yeah, well.
I don't think he
Yeah, he did.
selected anything.
Yeah.
I think he just,
Yeah, under maintenance, though, we've spent almost 60,000 in the first 8 months, which means we're on pace to spend $90,000 for the year.
does he have
but
this?
it's not.
Yeah, that's from.
It doesn't,
Oh, that's
Wasn't it
Yeah.
that way?
no, you can't prorate that
Okay.
based upon the
Okay.
person in their 8 months, because some contracts get renewed at different times of the year.
Okay.
so
So Kevin, what's your needs in that line of maintenance?
Maintenance has to be what it is. There's really no room to move that around because
Okay, so what is that line? I'm looking at supervisor's tentative versus yours.
Okay, so if you look at Kevin's sheet, so
Yeah.
the middle total, the maintenance total, 99,980.
Yeah,
So if you add the 30,000 that Jerry put in for town clerk's software,
okay.
but then he just arbitrarily, in my mind, knocked it down $7,980.
Okay.
but I don't know where, like,
Right.
yeah.
right.
Again, 7,000 what?
$7,980.
Okay, all right. Good. Kevin, I do have one question, though, about your proposal. Last year, you had added security services, and that's been removed.
It's not removed, it's just now in with the other services. If you notice on the left side of point 3, it's a little confusing. You have Threat Locker, Duo, and Proofpoint. They're blank in 2023.
Right,
And the 18,000 is basically those.
okay,
And they're now in the 2024 line because they're now in place.
right, okay, good.
So that's why they have numbers on them. And also included in that partially is the change in backup. That's why there's a dash in the file and folder backup of 2024, because we no longer do that separately. It's all conglomerated into a single backup solution, which is ended up being a little bit more expensive, but it's more secure, more simple, and less moving parts that could go wrong. So that's why.
So to clarify, the file and folder backup is included in the DR backup?
Yes.
So that's why it went
That's
to
why.
17.5, okay.
Yeah, it ended up being like a $3,000 or $3,500 increase from what we were previously doing, but it's just a overall better system. So that's why we ended up going for it. But yeah, the file and folder backup and all that stuff is all included under one single umbrella now. It's not separated with different subscriptions and different devices and less things to maintain overall in the long run. But yeah, I mean, the maintenance line is like it.
What's the proof point?
That's the email filtering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is one of those, your department's one where it's like, whatever you say. I mean, it's not,
I don't like to be that sounds bad, but yeah, I mean, this is what the things cost.
Oh, exactly.
It's what the
I mean, and I
email
don't-
costs, it's what the backups cost, it's what the security systems cost. It's not much
exactly,
really do about it. And then the money's not there, then it
yeah.
has to come from somewhere
Right.
come December.
When you say 10 computers, those are desktops, it's still that expensive? I'm just asking.
They're going up,
Really? Okay,
What kind of rotation do you have in the equipment budget?
yeah.
For how long are we using computers for? How
The
long?
general term has always been 5 years is the lifespan of the computer. We're kind of up against a wall here this year, coming into 25, this year as in 24, coming into 25, because Windows 10 is becoming discontinued, out of support. I think it's October of 25. So we haven't necessarily done full on 10 computers every year. It's budgeted for that, but this year I think we're going to be this year and next year are going to be doing that, because I really got to push to get the Windows 10 machines retired.
Did you do some of that with the balance that's left for this year?
There is nothing left this year.
Oh.
I didn't print out what I have allocated for this year, but as far as what is projected to be spent this year, because we're looking to get a new printer for the assessor's office. And then the assessor's printer is going to come to the clerk's office to get rid of the really old one here. But with computer, right now I'm quoting for 10 computers for this year, but also potentially 3 town board laptops, and the typical maintenance for battery backups. It's pretty much even though like it shows like I have a lot coming up for this year, I usually tend to spend everything at the back end of the year, just because you never know when something's going to come up.
I know.
So and that's just generally how it works. So it looks like I have $30,000, hanging out doing nothing, but it's all pretty much allocated for this year. But as far as, there really wasn't much increase in the equipment line, or was no increase, because I don't necessarily project price of the machines that go up that much for next year. But they are around $950 to $1,000, depending on what day you order them, because it fluctuates.
And that media overtime line on top, it's not a big line, is that you like doing last Saturday? Is that the kind of thing that would come out of there?
We haven't necessarily, that kind of just fell into place because that was brought over from the media.
Yeah,
When it comes to Saturday, I ended up using it as just comp time. I just took off Monday, basically. You know, I'm fine with doing that in general. But the 1,500 was put in there for that rare occurrence that something did come up on a weekend that I couldn't necessarily take the next day off or whatever.
okay,
But that, I didn't necessarily put that in there, but that kind of got,
It's been carried over.
it's carried it from the original media department budget.
yeah.
I mean, if there was something to get rid of, I don't think any of us would really lose a lot of sleep over losing that, because we generally just move our days around when we can.
Right.
For the copy machine at the assessors, are you gonna be able to get that online for them in the next month or so? I'm just thinking in terms of the troubles that they had with the folding of the last mailer and.
Well, we ended up not going with it was way too expensive to go for the full unit with the folding, it was over $10,000. And it was just like,
Yeah.
And also the size of the machine grows exponentially, because not only do you have the Z fold unit, you also have to have the finisher, so the thing becomes like massive, and they don't even have the room for that to put over there. So I discussed with Judith yesterday that we're just gonna go with the regular replace the unit, the regular printer, which is by far the largest output printer that we have, because they print the most. And we did end up working with the company to fix their folding machine. It's still problematic, but they do still have the original one, which I did fix. So they technically have two folding machines. The one that I did fix works perfectly for the old one. The newer one I have to actually talk to Blanca about it, because we want to get them back on the phone, because this is like the third one that they had. I'm debating, do we just find another brand? Because obviously this brand is not very good. I obviously don't have a lot of experience with Z-fold units. They're pretty simple, but this one seems to be overly cautious and says there's a paper jam when there is no paper jam. But we also discussed that we could potentially share the cost of the Z-fold units through like even more than just the tax and other departments like the PBA and stuff like that. They have used their Z-fold unit in the past for mailings. We're going to look deeper into what we can do as far as we're still going to keep the Z-folding units separate. We're not going to incorporate it into the thing, because it was really double, if not more than double the cost of just the printer itself. And I think I had like $6,000 to play with for a printer, and I was like, and they have $0 to play with for this year. So
Had to do extra mail.
So that's going to Amber.
no, the new printer is going to go to the assessors.
The old
one, the 53,
to Amber's?
dead. It's beyond.
I tried to use it the other day. It took 10 minutes for just a warm up.
It's probably, I want to guess, it's been here since I've been doing work for the town, and I've been doing work for the town here for almost 20 years. So it's at least 15 to 20 years old. So it's seen its day. But you were spending money having it maintained, which we didn't even know about until recently, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and the 5330 that they use would still be under the car contract and still have, maintenance support to be able to be fixed. And it living over here would have a longer life.
Yeah.
And it's past the assessor's office, because, obviously they print stuff, but not to the extent that the assessor's office does.
And that's only going up actually over there.
Yeah, their printing is just increasing.
So. And that was the thing we were talking about, and I had to talk further with the copier guy, but we were trying to get the next level up printer, which is more of an enterprise class printer, just because of the volume that they deal with over there.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. So we can cut $1,500 from your budget. That's the bottom line I got. By overtime.
Yeah, and then I think, Amber, you're coming in next week, so we'll discuss your software.
Yeah, so I don't know, that was, I guess, added in, or tentatively, right? Because we don't really have anything on the immediate radar, because originally I was saying, granted, if you want to plan for 24, obviously it has to go into this year, 100%. But generally, I was under the impression we were going to kind of like get the website going, see how that all works, see how that works with us, and then see if we can improve upon that. But obviously, if you wanted to implement something later in 24, obviously, yeah, it would have to be budgeted this year. But yeah, that was, I guess, added in. But yeah, you can't really take 8,000 out of the maintenance budget to make that line look better. Or 7,000 or whatever it was.
Message received.
On the IT committee, I know.
He tried to do that last year, and I'm like, that no, the money has to be there. I mean, if it's a lot. Look at just the email accounts alone. We spent $11,000 on email accounts, where half of them aren't even used.
I love that, IT and office and miscellaneous, sort of like paper clips and all that.
Yeah, it's like, I honestly doesn't even need to be there. Because I don't use any of it, and I don't have them like, well, I could buy a desk like everybody else has this year.
Yeah.
No.
He's like offended by the option. Why would I want to do that?
It's a treadmill desk.
A treadmill desk?
That's probably taken, there's $75 in there, so.
Stairmaster desk.
Stair stepper. No, that's gorgeous. All right.
Yeah, about that. Cheney, didn't Vice President Cheney have the treadmill desk? I believe so.
I want to try.
And then he died.
Yeah, it must not have been working.
Because he had a terribly bad back.
And the one thing Jerry said when, he said he wasn't gonna be here today is he didn't want us to like make any final decisions on budget things until.
Oh, no,
It's-
yeah. It's still fact finding.
Yes, exactly, that's what we're doing. So we have overtime, 1,500 potentially.
Yeah,
And then not touching
Maintenance.
Kevin's proposal.
right.
Correct. So it's changed.
That's it.
That's it, thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And since Reed is here early, we'll just,
He was.
where did he go?
Just stepped out momentarily.
He'll be right back, I'm sure.
There he is.
You can come and take the hot seat, Reed.
All warmed up for you.
Oh, I thought.
Yes, yeah, we're,
Thanks for that.
you're going to the bee fund.
Bee fund.
I've got one thing to soften the blow.
I'm gonna figure that out for you.
As of today, we're almost at our yearly.
Oh, thank you, Reed.
So starting at
About 34.
33.
33.
Well, that's, not you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did everybody get one?
No, did Shelby need one or no?
So
No.
Page 34, and let's take a look, 3620.
B 3620.
Where is the hot seat?
Right here.
See, no.
You get to sit next to me.
All right.
Bless you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm putting in for a desk with one of those belts.
All right.
Not a picture.
Can you just retrofit something from your basement? I'm sure you have a belt somewhere from a sander or something.
Yeah, you bring it up with a,
Speaking of, I love Lucy.
bring it up with a weed whacker motor.
That sounds safe.
So the good news is that our revenues were almost at what was projected for the year.
Okay.
So actually, that would be page 40. If we want to go to the revenues.
Oh, I think what was projected was 477.
You're at
As of
469.
today, we're, including the checks on Mary Ellen's desk, we're at like 469. Despite the moratorium, it's been a very busy year again.
That's as of today.
Today,
So
yeah.
that's not August, it's the end of September, which is 3/4 of the year.
Right.
Exactly, so we have 3 months left.
So it's about 25% higher, 23 before.
Normally, do you continue that rate during October, November, December, a similar?
They're actually, fall is our big season.
I was just saying, usually
Yeah.
slows down in the summer, and then when everybody leaves for the season, they're like, now do the work on my house.
Okay.
And that's what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Does pick up. All right,
A
so
lot of licenses and.
Yeah.
So we're actually, I was afraid it was going to be a slow year.
that
because
number could be as high as 600,000 plus. If you're at 469 as of today,
Figure a third, well, I don't know,
Oh,
no,
Yeah.
I'm saying 3/4,
never
so
mind, sorry, I'm looking.
you're saying
yeah, something
600,000.
like that.
That's optimistic, because I think there's a little bit of a slowdown after,
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving.
Not,
No?
not for building permits.
No?
Things stop, work stops between
Yeah,
Thanksgiving and New Year's.
right, right.
But we actually, people kind of run, people run in
Queued up
as,
and ready to
If you
go.
wanted to be conservative, you could go with 550,
Yeah,
which would be,
uh,
a little more than 50,000 under what the projection is for this year.
yeah, I mean, I can't divine next year, but, and if the moratorium is probably good for a couple $100,000. So I don't have a lot to say. I mean, our problems, both as an office and as workers, is the same as your problem, which is that we basically had 30% inflation in the last 3 years. And we're all, dying as a result. The other thing is the office is a lot busier because of new responsibilities. We're doing a lot more code enforcement because of the mandate. And having, although he's not in our office, he's in our office, Mickey Chi has created a additional work for, Mary Ellen and pretty much all of us. And it's great. He's good. He's really, really good. He's been a great addition to the office.
I think we were looking to expand upon that next year, the number of hours and things of that nature to get him more involved.
For code enforcement somehow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not, he only started part of the year this year.
Well, and he's technically not in, he's not in our department.
Stevens.
Right, Stephen will put him in under the,
He's been effectively, his desk is in there and we work very closely with him. Plus rentals and rental inspections have been a huge new task. It should calm down a little bit once everybody's inspected and, licensed under the new licenses.
I just want to correct you on inflation. I do. 2021, it was a 4.7% year, the annual rate of, it was 4.7. This is from the Fed. 2022 was 8%. 2023, the expectation is 4%. So it's
If you do
there.
if you do sort of real inflation.
Yeah, with the,
For New York and Eastern Long Island,
Yeah.
it was 9 to, I did mine on a New York Times calculator. It came out, your personal, it came out to 11%
yeah.
because of heating oil,
And housing.
housing.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think housing costs is huge if you're using that CPI.
Well, I mean, you look around, anyway,
Yeah.
point taken, we can quibble over the number, but it's,
Right.
go to the
It felt
idea.
like we kept, you guys whole last year, which was the terrible year,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, I'm just,
No, we weren't made whole. We're about half.
It was 4%.
it's not right, okay.
Yeah, and last year, the number I saw, you probably know better than I, the number I got when I did my calculations. I'm okay, because I'm the most highly paid person there.
Right,
I worry about some of the people.
yeah.
So did you want to go through item by item? There are only two, real lines that I want.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah, I was gonna say, look, where Jerry had cut back was on clerk. You
Right.
wanted to take her from, I guess she's at 30 hours a week. You wanted to take her up to 40 hours?
Yes.
And Jerry cut her back to 35.
I would still, that was one of my issues is I think because she has to work, she's obligated to work 5 days a week. So to make her come in and work 7 hours, if she could have Friday off, that would be one thing, but she can't realistically. And I think, it's really only fair to let her do an 8-hour day. And we could certainly use her at this point with Mickey in there, and she's helping tremendously with Mickey. And with all the rental stuff, things that the paperwork has gone up, exponentially.
How are your FOIL requests going?
The FOIL requests are insane. I would say that that's kind of become the majority of one person's job at this point. I'm hoping that subsides, but there's no indication that it will.
Okay.
We, from one individual, we got 7 over the weekend, 7 or 8 maybe. It's crazy. And they're big foils. They're, people are asking for more and more information. And a lot of it has to be redacted. It has to, a lot of people are asking for emails, and a lot of the emails are, you have to go into archive. It's just a huge amount of work.
And that's what Kim works on.
She does a lot. Mary Ellen does a lot of them too. It's been a huge time suck for Mary Ellen because she does a lot of the trickier, getting emails and stuff. And so there's that neat. The only other thing is what I was going to, beg for was higher bump on salaries. Leave me out of it, keep me at 3, but maybe give other people 5.
One of the other things that we're looking at is the health insurance.
Right.
Changing how the stipends, rather than going from 20% of, when you were hired, 20% of your salary, or 20% of the health insurance costs going to 2 or 4% if you're single or family. So there's a little bit of built-in savings there. We're finding that because new hires coming in, coming from other places, our health insurance costs are higher because the plan that the town has through the state
Cadillac, yeah.
is more expensive. And then it's just, and they're asking for more money to come in to work because.
So it's of salary now, not
No,
of,
that's great.
that would be money in pocket,
Yes, so if you're getting a 3% raise, we can then look at what percentage will be like you're actually getting a higher bump up this year, which kind of offsets the fact that, yes, inflation was 8% last year and we only gave 4% raises, so recognizing that as well.
No, and that's enormously valuable. That would be great. That would be really helpful. The one thing I would point out is that Mary Ellen does not benefit from that because
Some people don't pay.
she doesn't pay in, so there's no bump for her. So I would ask for maybe if,
Yes.
if at all possible, give her some sort of bump.
But the flip side on that is then you get a health insurance stipend, so you are getting a little.
no, she doesn't,
Yeah, it's just, I'm looking at overall,
Yeah.
and that's one of the biggest problems we have is, trying to find people, because I ask, I've been asking around about, trying to line people up potentially for the future. And the salary, it used to be a great job with benefits and it used to be a great package, and that's why people did it. But I can't get anybody when I tell them what total payment package is, nobody's interested. It's really a problem,
yeah,
which is one reason why I'm trying to get salaries up.
yeah.
And the only other thing was office supplies, and that's just a very pragmatic issue, which is that we've already run out of money for office supplies.
Oh, that's the 4,000 that you cut back to 3,000?
Where is that? That's,
3620.84?
hold on, 3620.
Office and
Yeah, 484. Yeah, I'd ask for 4, because we are right now pretty much broke. and we've still got 3 months to get through. Again, a lot of that is because of all the mailings due to the rentals and we've, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Mickey's budget is going to work out, but we're sending out a lot of registered mail.
Yeah,
And we did a projection of what, at the rate we're going, what it would be, and it's about $4,500 a year just for registered, certified mail.
wow. Right.
Yeah, we've been paying it,
It'd be kind of hard, maybe, in terms of practically doing it, because they're it's, one clerk would have to have two different drawers almost, it's like, well,
it's tricky, and I'm not sure.
yeah.
I mean, he could handle it separately. We've been talking about it. It's just that at the moment, it hasn't been sorted out.
Yeah.
So it's been an issue just because we ran out of petty cash,
Right.
a couple times, I think.
One other question, Association of Towns.
Yes.
You only have two in there, so like who's not going or?
Probably in zoning.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they
right.
break it up. I
Yeah.
think we're actually planning on taking another person this year.
Yeah.
So 4 of you? Because it was 3.
Well, let's see, it's going to be,
Judy.
well, yeah, it was 3 last year. And there was some talk of Mary Ellen coming because she's really an office manager now. And she really is doing with the foils and everything. She really could do with
Some of
some.
those seminars and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be very helpful for her. It was kind of a moot point for a couple of years because we weren't going, but
Yeah.
now we're back and
Okay.
So would be Reed, Brett, Michael, and Mary Ellen.
yeah.
And Shelley, did we get that number?
Yeah.
Mary Ellen wouldn't.
I emailed you.
3 days, she would just be 2 days. And we used to have me, Chris, Lori Beard Raymond. I guess that was it, because we were a smaller office.
It's about 1,400 a person for the building department.
Yeah.
You guys go for 3 days usually, right?
Yeah, because we
That's for
have
3 days.
Okay.
We have 2.5 days of classes. Usually go Sunday and we come back Wednesday.
And what's the cost, Shelley, for 2 days?
Just deduct 308 from,
And the per diem is obviously nowhere near enough to live in New York eat in New York for a day, but
yeah, so that's the hotel, the registration, the food allowance for each day, and then transportation.
What was the total? 14.
Building department people, it's 14. Approximately.
So we need 5,300 between the two departments then. Did you do any other training?
yeah, I mean, I've been doing most of it online. I always leave it till the end. I'm going to try and actually do some in-person training because we still have money in the budget for that.
Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, zoning does have an educational training line separate. Oh, actually, they both do.
Yeah, it's always been split up. There is a lot more available online, but there are certain things that are really valuable to do in person, I find, especially when you're old and.
Some things are better if you need to ask questions
Yeah.
and just really pay attention. I find it's easier to pay attention in person when there's someone staring at you than when you're watching it on a screen. Okay.
I think building department then, the Association of Towns, going to be 2,000. Yeah, 2,000 for piece on that department. 3,500 for the zoning department, because Michael is that department.
Michael's what?
He's only in zoning department.
Oh, okay.
So make it 3,500 for zoning and 2 for,
Yes.
In addition to the 14,000?
In addition to what?
Said the 14,000 from before.
1,400 a person, I think.
What was 1,400 a
Yeah.
person? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For 14,000, we'd have a very different trip.
There you go. It'd be in Vegas.
Yes.
No, we'd be at Per Se.
It'd be a one-way ticket then. You can come back. That's the problem.
There's anything else. So your overtime, you have 3,000 budgeted, Jerry put in 1,400.
Yeah, I had asked for more. So,
Who gets it, yeah.
Yeah, we're increasing
The hours.
well, it was for the building inspectors and for Marion. Yeah, I'm having, I've got to be careful, but there seems to be a lot of voluntary overtime that doesn't get paid because people are extremely conscientious over there. They'll say, if nothing else, they're conscientious. The department head doesn't get overtime, so.
And then on zoning, same thing.
Yeah, same
with
deal.
Michael. We're taking him from 30 to 40.
I was trying to take him to 40. He ended up at 35. I mean, I think that especially, I would rather 40, frankly, because especially going forward, anybody who comes in is going to want to expect a 40-hour job. But
Do you have, I mean, you can utilize,
sure, yeah, absolutely.
because he has been doing some training with Mickey or no?
He's been doing a lot of work with Mickey, doing, especially with rentals and rental inspections. To a certain extent, there's been a lot of time spent sort of coming up with a program for the rental inspections, because that's an area of expertise for Mickey. It's what he's done, among other things, it's what he's done in Southampton.
Yeah. As I said Reed before, one of the things my goal is figure out approximately between those salaries and for the year of what it costs per year. If we're going to a 2-year fee for rentals, it's got to be self-sufficient. Right now, it's a small fraction of the cost of enforcement.
Yes.
Why are the taxpayers paying for that? And we use that same logic at the recycling center and everything else that we've done. If you're using the service, and to think, by the way, what was it, 125 or 150 per 2 years? $75 a year. $75 a year is 3-4 hours of a rental. It's not a day's rental, it's peanuts.
Well, I didn't want to bring that up, but you're preaching to the choir on that.
No,
I think that,
I mean,
yeah,
so
because.
I honestly think that before we go out of this office, I would like to put that on the agenda to make sure that I would love to have that calculated as approximated to the, to what it's costing. Is this $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to enforce? And that's Stephen's time, and everybody else in your department's time, and Mickey's time. Put it all together, and then take a look at the number of rentals that we actually have approximately. I know we have not been on all of them, but, and just divide it in, and let's just, if you want to keep it at a yearly rate or a 2-year rate, it's got to break even. That's my goal.
No, I mean, I think that's always been an argument. There are a lot of people that were very against raising permit fees, say, but it's the same with building permit fees. And my contention has been, we cost what we cost as an office.
Correct.
And if we shouldn't be in the business ever of making a profit, but if we're not bringing in what we cost, then all the construction is being subsidized by taxpayers. And the most expensive are the bigger houses, which are,
More time
for
consuming.
people and more time consuming. And the reality is that it's the same with the rentals, that if we're not paying the cost of inspections, which are at the moment, I would say the majority of what Michael's doing now is rentals, getting people registered and.
It sells my argument, though, on everything I hear for the last 15 minutes here. I need to bump this person from 30 to 35, 35 to 40. I need to, we need to beef up the department. People are working overtime without being compensated. All the things that I'm hearing is that with additional revenues, it takes care of itself. And the biggest criticism, or one of the biggest criticisms, we have a ton of them directed at the town board, but one of the biggest criticisms is about enforcement. So we've heard it loud and clear. We're willing to do that. That's got to be paid for. Enforcement doesn't just happen.
Right.
It takes time, effort, energy, and manpower to be able to do that. And it should pay for itself. It's as simple as that.
I will say one thing, everybody complains about enforcement one way or another. I will say that it's amazing how often that the people who complain that there wasn't enough enforcement complain about enforcement when it's directed at them.
Right. Well,
Everybody lives above a neighbor with sensitive hearing and below a neighbor with heavy
that's
feet.
why you have to have a little tougher skin in this job, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no.
And by the way, even if you doubled or tripled what you are now paying, and you went from 150 to 300 or 450 every 2 years, it would be 1 or 2% of what you're taking in revenues for the season on rentals. It's not like you're going to spend 20% or 30% of your income on enforcement. No, it's going to be a small fraction of that. And if we knew what it cost, we could figure that out, divided by the number of rentals and what we're charging per year. Hey, it doesn't represent but 1% or 2% of what the revenue should be for those rentals.
And it's a small fraction of a lawsuit if they were to get sued by someone for.
Correct. And that is true. As much as people squawk about that, the bottom line is we're doing you a favor. We're doing you a favor in the fact that you need to get this done. It's so important that, everything is done by the letter of the law, especially when you're moving out of your house and moving people into your house, and that everything is up to snuff. All the fire stuff, all the safety stuff, the pool stuff, everything that around there potentially which could cause a lawsuit needs to be addressed. That's the purpose of the rental law. It's the self-inspection thing. Let's face it. I don't know how many people did a self-inspection, but having somebody to come in and do it for you costs money. And that's a whole nother thing. You could spend $700 or more, $800 to have somebody come into your home out in the town and inspect it and be certified. But, we're doing it. We need to be reimbursed for that time and effort.
No, fair enough.
It's a huge undertaking, this rental thing. It's not a small bit of change.
What with your percentage on Michael's salary? Going from 30 hours to 40 hours.
We didn't. That was supplied by, in other words,
Okay.
it was, I believe it was and I guess a bunch of people misunderstood that and thought that Michael was just getting a raise. He's not getting a raise. That was 30% more time. That bump, but unfortunately, we didn't get that. So I think I just sort of did the math roughly in my head, and it looks about right. 3% on top of a 5-hour increase. I think that's right. And to speak to Jim's issue, yeah, we could certainly use another 5 hours for dealing with rentals and all the inspections.
So are you going to make a proposal just separately about what the fee structure should be?
Yes, I was going to do that. I didn't know if it was appropriate to this discussion, because I thought this discussion was more about
Because
expense.
also we could get it,
Yeah.
get that revenue done,
Yeah, it should be done hand in hand.
Yeah.
Just because of the year we put in the budget, the leaf fees, and then
right.
never pass.
I know,
We don't want to make that mistake ever again.
I know Mary Ellen was comparing to other towns and did a little research, and, we're below half what.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Plus, there's the fire warden job too. We could put the fire warden stipend in towards that. It's $300.
$300, yeah. A bit overpaid there.
I don't know who what that was. I guess that was.
Have you ever heard any feedback on Bethel Market about the county tax? I know it's a small percentage, but
I've heard a lot about
you've
that.
heard a lot about it now.
Well, it's actually really interesting. I was going to bring it up at some point or another. I don't know if you know, the county has been using our old outfit to send out letters, and they've been sending out a lot of letters dunning people for back taxes. And it's sales tax of some sort of,
It's a hotel tax.
it's a hotel tax, and it's substantial, and people are shocked when they get these letters. They're particularly shocked because that outfit has been sending out letters to the wrong people. And it's been a huge problem. Mary Ellen spoke to someone at Suffolk County and was like, wow, how's it going? And they said, well, it's a nightmare because that company sent out all these letters to previous owners, people who were at that address, and a lot of them are incorrect, like a really high percentage. So they're having the same problem we have.
I mean, to be honest with you, we still get quarterly reports from them, and I don't know why we do, because we haven't done, they've been off the payroll for a year, I mean, I don't get it, but we still get these reports.
Mhm. That's efficiency.
That's efficiency, yeah.
Anything else? I think that's.
Anything else?
That's it. No,
Yeah, that's all
I got.
the,
That would be very helpful, though, if you could do that.
Just come up with some sort of an idea of how much. It's, I would say at the moment, it's very heavy because we're just starting with the inspections. And so there's a lot of inspections that should taper off. It's efficient for real estate agents and for everybody in keeping track of it, to have it, all the rental licenses to be, January to January, but it jams everything up at a particular point in the year. So,
What's the percentage of when homes that you go into, rental homes that you go into, that there's outstanding COs? What you're saying, is it 50%, 25%?
it's not 50%. You mean open COs? There are a lot of open permits. And it's actually good because we can resolve those. It forces people to resolve those.
And again, that's another positive thing. And I honestly think that, I don't think people do it deliberately. I think it's just something that you forget about. You had the little extension of the patio, or your little extension of this, that, and the other thing, and you thought it was all done.
Well, most people don't understand the process. They leave it to the contractor. The contractors, some contractors deal with it, a lot do not.
Do not, right.
No, there's a huge number of open permits and.
How do we close that gap where
Well,
people,
most
isn't it
people,
their
they
job
think
of
the work is done, so the permit's done, like the job is finished, so it should just be over.
Oh, that-
They don't realize you need a closeout inspection.
that's part of our educational process, to educate the public that that's something people need to follow through with after every major project, whether you put a shed in, or you put extension on the house or patio, or,
Well, there are a lot from the 1960s.
yeah. I get it.
And it's the problem is people who've been here a while, who are used to the way it was worked, can be very sensitive to that issue. It can be a real pitchfork and torch.
The only realization there is eventually, upon my death, the house turns over, or you sell.
Yeah.
And eventually, it's got to, you either pay me now or pay me later. It's one of those things, it eventually has to be taken care of.
Well, no, it should be anyway. It's just a lot of it is how how do you deal with ancient policies that people are accustomed to?
Yeah,
You have to figure out a method to do it slowly so that people aren't completely shocked. Yeah.
I think that, like the more recent ones in Municity,
yes, I
there
agree.
would be like, you'd be able to just send out a letter from Municity saying you've got an open building.
We've done that.
But then I guess it's the older ones that are just actually in folders.
Yeah.
Municity.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that. That's why I guess we have a lot from the 60s. I mean, they pop up, partially we see them when they sell the house. And there are a lot of, houses that have been running since 1963 and never got a C of O. Things were very soft. I think that Municity has been just sort of structurally has brought it to people's attention and we follow up on it and, yeah. And we're certainly pushing for it, but got to be a little bit cautious about how you do it.
Yeah, more sensitive,
Yeah.
the further back you go, yes, especially based on economics today.
Yeah.
Some of those people, it's a big squeeze. I get it. Thanks.
Okay, good. Sure. Thank you.
Brian, just see
I just saw Brian go by, so,
you next up.
Joe is. Maybe just gonna zoom in?
Joe, we have Joe on today?
We had asked him to like come in with Brian, sort of.
Oh,
Could also
right,
talk about the hydrologist. If anything, we can push it to.
Yes.
yeah.
I see Brian's here.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah,
it's
he just stepped out again. I don't know,
He might be talking to Reed.
Here he comes.
Hey, Brian.
Have a seat, Brian.
Have a seat in the house.
Thank God we're getting a little more rain, huh? Huh? I said, thank God we're getting a little more rain.
See, Kenning's coming up.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
All right, that's good.
Yeah. All right, buildings. I'm looking for the right page here.
821?
Page 8, Public Works.
Different.
Oh, yeah, yours might be different. But it's
Oh, okay.
A1490.
Yeah.
Poor Kevin.
Brian, Public Works is made up of how many salaries? So,
Two
And the clerks.
when the clerk?
in a clerk.
Two and then the clerks, yeah.
Like the clerk is separated
Yeah.
into two different categories.
Hey, Ken.
Hey,
Hey, Ken.
hi guys, how you doing?
On this department, I mean, that North Ferry Road maintenance is the thing that you save some money on because obviously the building's coming down and it's just a grass
But
strip.
that's in and out anyways.
Yeah.
Get rid of the revenues and there's Joe. Christina, Joe just walked by. I guess we can go through and then we'll bring him in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just sharing his time, so. Let him know that we.
I'm just going through the lines that have differences. So overtime or, 1490, 121. You have budgeted 13,000, Jerry put 17,500. You had 17,500. do you end up spending that more in the winter if we have a stormy season, lots of snow, you need road clearing, or what is that?
No, snow
usually?
doesn't come out of that. It's just, I'm not sure why that is. We've obviously had a good year
Yeah.
with overtime, with, not using a lot of it. If you look back in previous years, sometimes not so much. So
Right. It's kind of a contingency.
You never know.
case.
For this one, though, it's the two guys that are working on, who did Goat Hill. That was a big project, so I think that.
Right, so somebody else might come in to play there for overtime.
Yeah, so it's not snow or.
Like tree removal for hurricanes,
Right.
something like that. This is more.
Building projects.
A lot of that is call outs for, like over the weekend, with the bathroom in Justice Hall that we needed to take care of, so. I mean, a lot of stuff happens on the
Stuff like
weekends,
that,
but
yeah.
it's been, like I said, it's been a good year for no.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I thought.
Basically,
I'd rather go with this number.
I'd rather come down a little
Yes.
bit on that, because we're projected to go $2,000. I know it's a good year, so have a bad year of 6,000, that's 3 times what you need, not 17,500. I just, you got to start,
If the man is comfortable with 13.
Well, we did propose that, and, because we did talk about that, and
Yeah.
a lot of things
I would go.
over
I would go-
the, this year, we did have replaced, and this building is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Right. That won't
You know,
be an issue.
that won't be here.
moving forward.
Why would we have to go as high as 13,000 though, if we're on a projection of $2,000 to spend in overtime this year? Well, I'm suggesting that it'd be maybe half of that, maybe 6,500, and you're still putting in 3 to 4 times of what you spend this year.
Year ago, 2022. Just.
Yeah, 'cause if we can get a general trend on that, we need to start to get the eraser out and start to find some money, because we'll never get to the where we need to get to. And I honestly think that, this is an area that, hey, and over time, I guess you do get call-outs on weekends, and that can add up. But I'm suggesting that if we're on pace this year to spend $2,000, we surely, and the department's asked for 13, and the Jerry puts in 17,500, I don't know what, why.
Also, this year, between now and the end of the year, we're going to try and finish up the Legion, obviously the ramp. And we have plans already on paper and a price list for the renovate these 2 bathrooms down here. So
9,500
that can only be done on the weekend.
It was 9,500 the year before?
last year, yeah.
Okay, so last year was 9,500 for the entire year?
In the,
Yeah, in the wood.
So Brian, so if it was 9,500 last year, and that was a bad year, and this year we're on a projection of 2,000, let's go with the bad year. Can we stick with the $9,000 and save ourselves $8,500? Or
I would leave it at 13 where we proposed it.
He's trying to cut it.
Just a little bit of, because you never know. This is always one of those, you never know. I mean,
All right.
somebody can, had somebody run through the
I was gonna say
pavilion.
10, yeah.
Defense.
We go.
I was suggesting something slightly lower than that, but, and I would like to still do it. I know you proposed it for a bad type of thing, but I would like to say, look, somewhere between 10 and 12.
All right, noted. And, those fiscal, Jerry wants to be part of all that too.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know why he wants to go to 17.5. 13 would be my upper limit, and 10 would be my lower limit, but I'd feel comfortable anywhere between 10 and 13, based on that number that you just gave us.
Ron, can you talk about the custodial line?
Custodial, so they are
Only half has been,
are all the cleaning personnel for all the town buildings.
yeah.
Did you? They're Giovanna retired,
Yeah,
so so Lauren picked up all her stuff.
yeah.
So again, it all depends on the events that are going on and stuff like that, of how much cleaning gets done.
But, by the end of the year, maybe you'll have spent
I was saying like 50.
50, yeah, so,
Yeah, Shelby's gonna look up the totals.
And that's pretty consistent what we do there, so,
because summer's busier, right? Because they've got the,
oh yeah, because the
Bathrooms,
beaches, bathrooms,
They do the bathrooms every day.
the loo,
yeah. So, just wondering if we can't take a little out of that line. I mean, it's, you know, I hope you don't feel like we're picking on you, but you're just a big department with a lot of lines.
Last year, what did we spend there, Shelby?
Last year was 61,880.
Which line was
That's pretty close.
Custodian.
We're a big department, but there's also, you gotta remember, there's
You
a
have a
lot of
lot,
variables
yeah.
that come into play when it comes to these things. And I understand where you gotta cut, but,
Yeah.
you know, the variables are, you know, you have a storm, you have a major
Year before.
breakdown with something, that's where these overtime numbers and stuff.
We talk about that there might be increased efficiencies there, though,
Might be what?
increased efficiencies there.
I mean, we have talked about making one person a salary person before. Actually, we did. That didn't work out, so then we went back to all the part-timers.
Right, right. Because, yeah, where we were,
And
Saturday,
we got to take that into account for COVID,
yeah.
Right.
which might have something to do with.
Oh, with the
those numbers.
69, yeah, with the
Higher number.
Because we were
Yeah.
double cleaning,
Might have had a lot more.
Right,
Had
that
a lot
makes
of cleaning
sense.
going on.
2018, can you, 2019,
you know, especially like Fit Center,
Right.
Town Hall.
2019 would be it,
Because COVID,
yeah,
it was 2020 that approved. so
right.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, Fit Center
Double
is a
cleaning
big,
was,
a
yeah.
big double, triple
Yeah.
cleaning of all the people coming through there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
And
one,
in here, too,
Forty-eight.
did a lot
And
of-
in here too,
a lot.
48, 250.
Yeah,
so that's probably.
which actually this would be on trend for then this year.
Yes.
Right,
Oh, so maybe,
Maybe 50?
yeah, or 55.
How about 55? I was
I just,
thinking the same
I
thing.
did want to say without, again, you know, it's personnel, I don't want to be, but Saturday, the person who spruced up the bathrooms at the community center for the comp plan meeting was just very efficient and very quick and it was perfectly done. So she was just great. So just saying that, that might impact your numbers positively.
Yeah, I mean, the person who does that has to go to building and do it. You know, that's pretty, there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah. Does she put in for mileage? Do they put in for mileage? No.
Go by the hour.
Okay.
So we can drop that.
Yeah.
Again, as it gets closer to the end of the year, we can watch that to make sure.
Right. Right.
So we're not too far.
So you're gonna go 56,000,
55?
55?
55, I
I
would
put down
suggest.
52, but
Oh. In there.
Right, we'll play with that.
Let's go 55 and it's $11,000.
And the double overtime is obviously a holiday, which,
I'm not concerned about that. It's not a lot of, yeah. I know we haven't used it, but it's not a big money line. It's not $1,500, not a big thing.
moving down the line. Question.
Okay, but I don't have any problem with
That's like maintenance.
equipment, I don't, nothing there.
What's going on with this longevity line? You didn't put anything in there, Brian, because you're going to be
It's
gone?
gonna be contractual, like.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
got,
it's all contractual.
oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
and Shelby does a calculation, because she double checks when people's longevities are hitting.
Right, okay, gotcha.
So equipment is anything needed to do the job. Replacing equipment, as well as boat equipment, the same thing.
Are these highlighted for a reason, Shelby? The boat, the buoy lift lifeline?
You moving that over or WMAC?
WMAC money, okay.
Cover it?
Yeah, that's why they're headed.
Okay, that was what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
But I do think jetties and bulkheads, you know, that's a fairly conservative number, you know, that you have to keep on, you have to keep that in there. Because we have a bunch.
Can that not be WMAC money as well?
Well, what we've been doing with jetties and bulkheads for capital projects is putting in the capital line and then using this as a so-called maintenance type of thing, or an overrun
Right.
of project, because we've been we're in 2 years of trying to get permits for Connor's Creek dock,
Right.
bulkhead. And we're on our 5th update for the DEC. The fifth update for the DEC, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens when we get that back to them.
Yeah.
Which we finished it, we're ready to go. And we're just waiting for Al to send over the new drawings and new comments. So we can print them out and send them to the DEC. And hopefully, that was something I've been trying to get done.
I know. It's crazy.
You can back to your comment about, can't we use WMAC money for that?
Yeah.
We can look at that all at the end.
Yeah.
To see how much we're gonna pull from WMAC. I know last year Jerry put in a much bigger pull,
Yeah.
but then I didn't like where it was leaving the balance in
Right.
WMAC. Or catastrophe, we lose an entire bulk or something.
Right.
So
Constantly washes out, you know.
Yeah, so we, that's, but, so, Jerry was saying something. Things didn't look right.
Oh,
And I know you had done that whole
yeah.
analysis, we should just compare.
And see where, yeah, what happened.
Versus what we budgeted to see why.
Yeah.
I had like looked at those numbers too and was in agreement.
So, yeah.
Right, when we do mower repairs, do we send that out to?
No.
No, we
But
don't.
I want to talk about that line, because I don't know how that came about, but I would like to get rid of that line and put the $5,000 in a parts account, because it's the same thing.
Right.
$5,000, put it where?
In the parts account.
Parks and beaches, is that what you mean?
No, parts.
Parts,
Move it over
like-
to the DA. Is it a DA?
Parks and beaches.
No.
Like parts, like pieces of machines.
It would be in,
Repair.
it would be D 5130, DA 5130.
Or 46,
Yep,
so make that
right.
130 for parts.
So I would, yeah, make that 130 and get rid of that mower. It's kind of like I don't know why that was done like that. It's just
Can we go back up to Parks and Beaches, A1490?
yep,
Because we've got 36.5 budgeted for that, but we've only spent 12,000 so far this year.
and out of parks and beaches, we need a new beach rake.
Mhm.
Our beach rake is 26 years old. It's seen enough salt water, and it is starting to rot.
Where does one of those go for, Brian?
28,000.
28 now?
Yes. And I have a quote for 28,000. We can split it up in 2 years. I'd like to take half out of there this year at 0% and half out of next year at 0%.
Oh, that takes care of that money right there. If that's, you
Yeah, there we
know,
go.
14,000 on top of what's going to be 18,000. So you're going to be, yeah, so you're going to be very close to that 30 plus. Yeah.
The beach rake, that beach rake is essential for cleaning all the beaches.
Okay. Grounds maintenance, another area that like understand.
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot out of that. My philosophy is I always wait till we get closer to the year, make sure we don't have an emergency.
And explain for us a little bit about the grounds maintenance, where you'd be doing that.
Everywhere, parks, same thing as parks and beaches. Those two lines are kind of one of these, can be combined to do the same thing. The grounds maintenance is anything, if we need something to do these buildings, if we're moving hedges or something, or we need equipment to do it with. We've bought mowers out of grounds maintenance before. As well as little Toro machines we buy out of that line. As well as the nice finish mower that mows all the grounds around here. Which is another,
Those mowers that need to use on the side of the road that go through things you don't see, you know, that
they take a beating.
they take a beating and still keep on ticking, but I'm amazed because it's impossible to see everything that's in the high grass. And, you know, to have somebody walk out in front of a mower and look you know, I mean, God, there's so much to cut, and you do so much in one day. It's amazed me that the blade. Do you have the necessary equipment to be able to go into a trail that's 4 or 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide, and make it 10 feet wide? I remember.
Called labor.
Oh, I actually remember when Jay had those machines. Remember when we went over on Cobbets? I guess we went up to behind the Catholic cemetery there on the side of the Catholic cemetery over at the Lima Bean Field, and they demonstrated some of this project. I mean, those things were huge, but man eaters, those things were.
Yeah, a lot of our trail system is, unfortunately, you have to send personnel in to clear them, cut them back.
The brush mower we have will take out some pretty big stuff, but it's, but yeah, if you get, larger diameter, you got to clear it first with take it
I'm
through.
thinking ahead, like, on Deer and Tick, we were talking about, making sure that because of the incidence of Lyme disease and everything else, that, and the increased number of ticks that we have, that people are complaining about picking up ticks on, various things, various trails, maintain those trails. We were going to get all that money to, that manpower to be able to do all of that. Is that coming out of somebody else's budget to be able to do that?
No,
Just
whatever
looking
we
ahead.
do for the CPF
Yeah,
committee, we charge them and we get that reimbursed.
okay. CPF is sound enough financially?
All there.
to be able to-
Open space,
Million.
Okay,
but in our space, we take care of ourselves.
okay. All right.
Don't count W.
That's for manpower and equipment.
Yeah, we usually bill it back to them, and they've purchased some of the stuff that we have that are attachments for that track loader that we have. Some of that stuff came from CPF,
Too clear.
to clear those trails and paths like that, so.
It's kind of like they pay a portion, we pay a portion, because we'll use it on our own trail too,
Mm-hmm.
in our own system.
Okay. Okay.
It's a good.
Marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going down the rest of the lines. Generator maintenance, you said it was high this year because
Well, we had the
Bad
problem with
gas
the police
and
department
issues, okay.
generator, but we also added to it because of potential problems with all the other ones.
Right, from sitting,
So we're gonna need more maintenance so that doesn't happen to one of our other generators.
sounds good.
Let's go up, town hall, other buildings.
Right, so that number is so high because we're still,
We added something in.
we encumbered money from last year for the rest of the Legion Hall, which we're about to finish.
Okay. Yeah, because we've only, through August, it only expended 27,000, but I knew there was something in there that was a big project.
So we're gonna
To do
take
the
out
ramp, Right.
police department. I just had to replace the whole condenser for the AC over there. That's not in there. A lot of things all of a sudden just went kind of south on us here this month.
Okay.
We, it seems like we're going through a $6,000 AC unit every year at one of these buildings, because they're all 15, 20 years old. And we have, you know how much buildings we have. You know, the doctor's office has three units there,
Yeah.
3 separate units.
Yeah.
We replaced one a couple of years ago, and there's another one almost getting ready to be replaced. So that number has been consistent for a long time. We haven't
Yeah.
taken away from it, we haven't added to it. Again, all these older buildings, you never know what's gonna happen. Yeah. In this complex alone, there's 5 or 6 HVAC systems right here.
And unfortunately, they're not all the same.
Yeah.
So like, when you're not dealing with somebody where you go, oh, we call one company and they give us a, you know,
Yeah.
we were talking about, 5 different units. So you got different people coming, servicing them, and so.
But Zurab, who is on the contract with the town, is putting, when something does go bad, he's putting the same unit in,
Right,
trying to get some,
trying to get consistency with the whole.
That makes sense.
More likely you'll have it on the truck too when you need a repair.
Well, right, exactly.
Yeah, save money.
Non-highway tree maintenance?
non-highway tree maintenance. So this is where all of our, when we have to hire Dan Clark, he's on the contract with us. Our lift is all steel, metal. So we can't, we have to stay away from all that.
Right.
So all that tree work comes out of that.
Okay.
And we've added to it because the amount of trees that need to be taken care of that are bad or people have pointed out to us, we have to take care of, because if it falls and we haven't done anything, then we're liable.
Yeah.
So it never, every year it seems to get more and more, there seems to be more and more trees. Now, I mean, I would love to add to it even more, but.
Yeah, I mean, I can actually see that getting worse with the beech trees. all dying,
Oh,
like,
look at, yeah.
Down Bowditch Road, that whole field to the, well, if you're going up the hill, it's on the left. All those trees are gonna start dying and they're huge and they come up and over the road. So I can see that becoming an issue.
No, we were just down in the Satan's Woods property, in town property and back of Raylick, huge beech tree.
Yep,
I mean, it took a whole day to clean up,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? That goes quick, that money, when you're doing something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And not to mention, we still have a ton of, maple trees and stuff on the sides of roads that are dropping
Northern
huge
Parkway,
pieces.
every tree there needs to be taken down.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
So-
bad.
okey dokey, that one makes sense.
So dredging,
Yeah,
so you're gonna move that to
WMAC,
WAC as well?
I think.
Is that something we utilize pretty much every year, if not every other year?
Yeah.
Now that we have an excavator, we do a lot of our own dredging. But when we hire out for dredging like this, it's for a long stick that we don't have.
Yeah,
And so that just needs to
right.
make sure that that's always there.
okay.
When you say a long stick like the one Suffolk County uses, that
Yeah.
middle point,
Yeah.
like that reaches out
They're the ones who do it.
25 miles, it's feet. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not miles, feet.
Maybe this is,
Miles. Who needs a bridge? Who needs a bridge? Just
Drive
the
it.
tunnel limit.
but this is something that's discussed, I think, in the comp plan. I think made it in there. Somebody edits, but that the town should explore the idea of buying a longer, with other towns.
It was mentioned,
Yeah,
looked at.
yeah, and,
It's putting a machine in salt water.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
no matter what, it's gonna kill its lifespan.
Right, and we don't want to do that.
no,
And this machine shows up, it's like a rust bucket. because it's sitting in salt water when they're digging. They don't care.
Right, right.
And really, we don't have any other application for a long stick
Right.
excavator other than doing that. And the amount of times that you have to do it, it's basically you'd be taking the machine, you dig it, you'd clear your one channel way that you need to, and then it would sit there without any other activity.
It's a 9-day activity at Real Point.
Though is it's dredging not for navigation, but dredging for flushing. And that's where we have trouble. You know, the county's not doing that, and, you know, to hire it out is expensive, but some of our creeks might really need that more and more. So anyway, it was just, you know, and you don't use it to share it, you know,
The normal ones like Highbury Lane,
yeah,
that's like every year we're down there.
yeah.
We go every single year. Like last year we did it, a month later we had a nor'easter, it was done.
Yeah,
But then we
Right.
came out of our dredging window.
Yeah,
But we're
right.
stuck the rest of the year.
And that's an area-
We're complaining, but
right,
Yeah.
And that's an area that really, I mean, you're gonna have to get the DEC involved, and there's gonna have to be some exploration, because it doesn't work there. What they're preparing there doesn't work. It's gonna have to move further east somewhere up that line and cut into that lagoon somehow to make that flush, but I mean, until they're ready to,
well, we
like to
actually
do it.
petitioned the DEC a couple different options, and they didn't like any of them. We're kind of like back to square one.
To be honest with you, moving it further east would be very, very helpful. You know, where it is right now, it only comes in at the westernmost end.
Right.
You know, and the opening there closes up in a day, you know, with a storm.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a $few effort. It's like you go down there and spend a day and a half doing the thing, and it's like one good tide comes in there and it's closed the whole thing off.
I think the Real Point thing is almost similar, but it's geared on a year. You know, what you do out 9 days will be undone in the next 357 days or 54 days, whatever.
Yeah, but then it gets to the point where you have to look at it, and you're like, okay, is that just supposed to be its natural progression? You know,
right.
I mean, at some point, you
The
know.
problem, you can't kind of think that way though, at Real Point, because.
No, not Real Point, I was talking about Highbury.
Oh, Highbury, yes, I agree.
Because that just doesn't, you know,
I agree.
maybe it's just not meant to be open.
Either that or opening up the other end on the east end and piping it under the beach out and then having a flow actually in and out of pipe, you know.
Right.
That would be very healthy. That's costly, but some type of culvert that was on the east end there. That's the fix, the flushing.
So that, I want to mention the parks and beaches bathroom maintenance. So that is all pumping, because everything has a tank now.
Right.
And I want to mention Sunset Beach. Last year split the cost of the trailer down at Crescent Beach pumping right. So last year they gave us a check for $4,000.
They did?
They did. This year,
Yeah.
they paid for the whole thing.
The whole
They gave us a
thing.
check for $7,000.
We are gonna do a resolution,
Yeah,
acknowledge that.
That's a
So
good,
they're trying to be good neighbors, because they know that a lot of their people are using that bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's saving their system.
right.
So, they're very helpful with anything we do there.
Yeah.
They paint the fence with us, they take care of the beach with us, they help us with the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they're looking to do even more. So it's a good,
I don't think I ever mentioned it to you guys, but I did bring up that thing about the opening of Shell Beach, you know, and trying to flush it and getting it better drainage up through the creek and flushing of the creek and the bay up above. And I brought that to the PEP, and then she said to me, Jim, we've tried that all along at various locations. The immediate fix that you see is right in the vicinity of the flush. You don't see it long range. There's so many other things working against that. And water temperature, there are so many other things that neutralize that. The amount of money that you would spend on that, you would think that you're going to get this big, huge improvement all the way up into West Neck Bay.
and
Won't work. You know, you're very disappointed. And they've seen that on the Barrier Islands and on the south fork of Long Island, you know, where the storm opens it up, they get that immediate impact right in that area. But anything outside that immediate impact really deteriorates very, very, very quickly.
Makes sense.
I think it just went out.
Okay, so then with that in mind, do we need to adjust this line item for parks, beaches, bathroom maintenance?
I mean,
What'd you say?
Adrian, who's the manager down there,
Ask if we need to
I
adjust
think
this
you
line.
gotta keep.
I think you gotta keep it, because never know what's gonna happen.
Right.
So
can't
one of the
guarantee
owners
it.
died and it's changed hands. And there's always this rumor of they're not gonna last very much longer. So,
Okay.
you know,
And also depend on it. I mean, like I said, Adrian's been great and he's a great guy and good manager, but you know.
he's from the
they've-
south of France, he may
they've-
not be there forever.
They've changed some, you know, they've changed some managers over the years and maybe not everybody's gonna be as cooperative.
Okay.
So I think it's safe to do that. I mean, it's a,
We should probably.
Great
in
thing.
case someone drives into the bathroom.
yeah. Yeah.
That too.
'Cause
I've thought it through.
Have we thought of, well, we're just on that subject, you bring that up. Have we thought about, like we did at Wade's Beach, putting some boulders down, you know?
We are actively working with the county, come up with some sort of solution.
Okay,
for that
So
corner.
we met with them down there,
yeah,
we talked about it, and they're gonna come back with us of some soft and hard solutions without taking away from the aesthetics
Right.
right,
of the beach.
yeah. I mean, they have mud on the state parkway, all those narrow bridges that, you know, they do have, because it was a death sentence, you know, if you go into the side of it.
Right.
And one of those bridges. But now they do have things that will save human life and not only for the driver, but for the people beyond and the damage to the bridge. I think same philosophy can be done down there.
Yeah, they had their county engineer and one of the highway super, you know, that works for the county, it's in part of maintenance of the highways, came out and met with us. So they took a bunch of pictures and measurements, and so they've got some things that
Good.
they're gonna propose at least as a beginning of measures to take that'll start, you know, before the beginning of next.
So that's more of
season.
our solution than moving the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, Brian talked to them
Right.
about that. That's
Yeah, I
not a
talked
great
to,
option.
Matt Sherman, who's the engineer on that project, and
Right.
he would not have entertained the idea of the DEC trying to move that because
Right. Right.
it's not gonna happen.
Okay, yep. Yep.
All right. Moving on to the town board buildings. Is that you guys?
What's in this category, town board buildings? I mean,
Where are we going?
Next page, town board building, 1620. A 1620.
Oh, okay, so that's not really me.
Is that you?
No.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
Yeah, I don't even know that. That's something that they just always,
That's more like, just like electricity fuel, okay.
yeah,
Ready with Brad
okay.
All right,
for testing.
that kind, okay.
and I'm not sure where Joe comes into this about water testing and all that. Is that part of that town hall
I think
building?
that's part of this, yeah.
Um,
You get him now?
Helping and repairs and
he'll speak to
we'll
that.
have him do that.
I'm here. I can speak to that, or step down if you want.
Yeah, come on down.
Yeah, but why don't we wait until we're done with the other categories?
Yeah, we
So
can,
that way we get you all at once.
Want to go to the highway? For recycling?
yeah.
Highway is
We've got, page
15.
501.
Which one are you on here?
Highway.
Okay.
So mechanics or?
No, like Debbie and Amanda highway.
Yeah, I'm missing it. I got the old one, Don Jerry's.
A 5010. I mean, the main thing in this was you said CDL driving. People have to do their CDL.
Yes, so
We had a big increase there.
we had put training.
Yeah,
So-
the training went up.
So you can't just go and get a CDL license anymore.
Right,
You can't just walk into DMV and say, oh, get my permit and then go take a test. It doesn't work that way anymore. You actually have to go. That school is very expensive. So that's why we put a number in there in case we had to send somebody to school to get more CDL drivers.
How many do we currently have?
So we have
CDL drivers?
CDL drivers, we have,
This is the right line for this though. Because even though this is Highway A fund, if I'm looking at the salaries in this group, it is just,
It's just Debbie and Amanda.
yeah, it's Brian, Debbie, and Amanda.
So training is for them, so the training should be somewhere else.
The training, I mean, well, we can continue to talk about the number, but I think we need to move it to a DA fund.
okay.
Because, or maybe it's under landfill.
Landfill, yeah.
Probably landfill because of the CDL, that's where most of the CDL is going.
Well, most of them are,
Well, CDL, that landfill is just tractor trailer. CDL is everything but tractor trailer, so the smaller trucks.
Okay, all right, so then the DA fund. Okay, but anyways, all right, you think 9,000 is the right number for,
That's if we had to send 2 people to go get CDL,
it's 2 people, okay.
which is up the island, trying to partner with Brookhaven. They have their own in-house instructor. So they did that. I mean, they have 300 employees.
Yeah.
So it was worthwhile for them. Somebody already had it. They can teach them. And through the Highway Attendants Association, we've been trying to, get together and pool and do something like that.
It's a good idea.
But it's still gonna cost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that we're gonna have 2 drivers, but I think we should at least have one, money in there for one, in case
Right.
somebody wants to advance.
I mean, currently it's not a requirement for us to hire somebody with a CDL, but I would say it's a pretty strong, I think it's coming down the line somewhere that it might be. And I think this is a good opportunity maybe for some people because it is a big number and if not a lot of people have that. And I think it's, something that's worthwhile. And we have a kid right now that we just took on full time who's interested in it. At least he's expressed an interest in trying to get it. So there's one right there that we could, do it for. But I think it's something we're going to have to, consider down the road anyway.
Bobby, if you could just look up and see what's in that training line.
I think it's like when Kenny went,
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense. Okay, so that training should just be.
yeah, for
That makes sense. That's where it is. We should probably
So
move
let's
it.
print out
the other piece.
what's needed for there and then what gets moved to DA.
Yeah.
Just back to,
What are we doing next?
no, I think landfill is next, yeah, page 21.
Revenues.
8160.
Here it is. Okay, I take that. I just found it. I wrote some notes on it.
Page 21.
So the personal services, what we did was we have an extra personnel there now. We have another employee that's been there since COVID because of what happened in all the building and the clearing. So we took money we moved that out of brush and weeds. We kind of just took some of that salary out of brush and weeds and moved it into the landfill. So it's in coming out of the right salary line.
Okay.
So that's why that number is more than,
What it's tracking to be. What it's tracking to be and what we budgeted for this year.
Striking to be 300,000,
This is all contractual.
That's what I'm tracking, it's 200 for 8 months, it'll be 300 for 12 months. And you're adding a personnel, you're adding a salary on top of that.
but we're taking away from,
Right,
we're just
right,
moving the salary.
moving a salary on.
So Jody's contractual.
And you're adding increase in salaries to
Yeah, just
the percentage.
Seasonal and part-time are all, that's what it is, all my
Right.
part-timers down there.
It still seems a little high, but
What, the 416?
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
But
yeah.
at 340 plus the new salary, say that's, well, no, not really, no.
Yeah, because that gives us,
You know, our first meeting, I'm not sure if that number, that 416 number reflects that. It's kind of high.
The overtime. We had budgeted was 18. You're recommending.
No, that's separate, but
These are 4. We still have holiday season coming up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay.
A lot of holidays coming up.
Yeah.
$300,000 and you add the 3%, or whatever you were adding on top of that, it's another $9,000, right? Yeah, so now you're up to 310, let's say, and a new salary. So you're now up to
yeah, we have the,
375.
yeah, the highway subtotal sheet seems to support that. And we haven't put in the increase because we're in contract negotiations.
Right,
So we
okay.
don't, we haven't
Yep.
added on the percentage.
Okay, but you still have, you know it's going. I mean, you can guess within a percentage point where it's gonna be.
Right.
Again, like you said, the overtime, we dropped a little bit because, again, same thing like Public Works.
Right.
It hasn't been.
We haven't had the big storms, winter or, or a hurricane, so obviously that's,
And even, when we had somebody out on personal leave. It really,
Still covered.
it was covered through
right.
the regular salary and not a lot of overtime, so.
Okay.
He mentioned that to me when I brought up the new trailer, going in there. He said, to be honest with you, with the town's, his quote, I think, was what the town saved in my salary, in between, almost pays for that trailer, the new trailer. Talking about that.
Right, but the savings in salary gets filled in with other people covering the hours. And that's kind of the beauty of the paid family leave is
Yeah.
we're not paying 2 people when someone's out.
Yeah.
Paid family leave is paying that person, and so just like when Shelby was out, we were able to bring Mallory in.
I didn't hire anybody out, we just kind of
Right.
filled the void with other personnel that were already working, so really didn't, there is some money.
Savings, okay, so there was.
There was some savings, yeah.
Not overtime. So savings.
If anything, the overtime was just, if somebody at the highway was only worth 8 hours a day, it was just a couple hours a day here and there.
Just while we're on it, the grinder, guys, what's your, now that we've had it for 4 years?
Since 2017,
Oh, it's 2017, we actually got that grinder?
yeah.
Okay, so we've had it for 6, 7 years. Okay.
God, I don't remember this stuff.
This was the first year I was in office. That's what I remember.
I'd have to say.
What's the prognosis? You think we'll get 20 out of that, or?
If Brett keeps running it, probably.
Yeah.
He takes care of the operator, maintenance, everything.
Yeah,
He takes care of it like it was his own.
right.
If it was up to him, he'd park in the driveway at night. He watches it, hopefully that's a good, we can get 20 years out of it, but probably not, because, we want to get some trade-in value for it.
It's a
So I would say
workhorse.
10, 12 years.
Yeah.
We got a trade-in value on it. Of just under 500,000, but the new machines are over $1 million now.
I was thinking it was still 730, so,
Nope.
no, or 710, I think. Oh, no, it was 730.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we got 355 back on it, on a 50/50 from the state.
yeah. So every year, when we get down to that line, we kind of keep adding to that line a little bit every year because the maintenance gets a little bit more every year the older it gets.
Yeah, that piece of equipment, though, you just can't live without it. I mean, you have to have that, they have to have a grinder there.
No.
Oh, especially now because the land clearing hadn't slowed down in 2 years.
Right.
It's,
Solid waste cart fees, are they contractual? Just a,
Solid waste carting fees, that is under contract. That fluctuates.
Yeah.
With COVID, it was more, so I think we dropped it down from COVID. Because everybody came and there,
right, yeah, we got inundated.
but that's a pretty steady number.
Hazardous cart fees look down.
Here's Brookhaven, is that where we're taking it to? We're taking it up Island.
The C and D, that's,
See,
yeah, the C and D is the,
one that's gonna close. And we have to
Yeah.
find something else. But what, I thought the municipal solid waste was also an issue. Where are we taking that?
so our solid waste national pay, that goes to the incinerator up the island. And they, again, I'm waiting for their letter, because they called me to say, end of this year, we need to either renew for the 2-year extension
Go out to
or go out to bid again. And they had already expressed that they would like to renew, but the price is going up. I said, well, if you can't renew an extension that with a price in there and go up on the price, we're probably gonna have to rebid it. So I'm waiting for that letter.
Okay,
I knew there was something coming up.
and then hazardous carting,
Hazardous carting fee, yes.
is that just how we dispose of our hazmat stuff?
That's how we
or-
dispose of our hazmat.
Okay,
That's the company that comes out, picks it up. And they're scheduled to come out in November for the final pickup of the year. So I think there might be one missing in there.
okay,
So we just store that, so
We store it
yeah,
until
the
they come.
first Saturday of every month, we just store it for X number of months, and they come in and pick.
Yeah, we usually have like 4 pickups a year, sometimes 5,
Yeah.
depending on
So every 2 to 3 months, they'll come in and,
Yeah.
pick up that stuff. We take a lot of stuff in, Brian, and of course, for day on a Saturday morning,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the bulk of the stuff that we take in is a lot of boat gas. Boat gas and used oil. You know, during the beginning of the season, end of the season, boat gas. Which, you know,
Yeah,
is
what
common.
about paint? Do you get a lot of paint?
A lot of paint, but a lot of it now is going to Paint Care, the Paint Care program,
Yeah.
which we don't pay for.
right, so that's good.
So we're gonna get this is the first year we did that, so we're gonna get a
A reimbursement of something?
no, it's already, we don't even get reimbursed because it's already, we don't pay for it when it goes away. We're gonna get a summary of what they took, which will give us a good idea of what's going on off the island.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, when you allow the people to drive their trucks back up to the metal, scrap metals and wood and various construction debris and the twofold thing I have there is the injury probability and the loss of revenue. What would be I mean, obviously both are important. The injury only takes one serious injury for somebody to go, and they're guys my age, you
And
know.
we've had it.
We're not talking about 19-year-old kids that are going in there. We're talking about,
We've had injuries there already, so.
yeah,
You constantly have to tell people, don't climb on a pile.
yeah.
You can't do that.
But what is the loss of revenue? I was when I see a guy,
So what do you mean loss of revenue?
When they're taking, he means when they're taking the metal out of the metal pile.
No,
right.
It's minimal.
it's minimal. Okay. That was my concern because I saw maybe planks of wood, took 40, 50 long planks of wood onto a truck and,
They can take all the wood they want, because we're paying for that.
okay, we're paying for that. Oh, what, okay, all right. So it's just going to somebody
I
else.
know that whole area is some people like, they shouldn't be in there at all because of the liability. Then we've had, in my 30 years of being there, we've had the discussion a lot where we should limit the people going back there, and then the people kind of get in their uproar, they're up here in the town board meeting, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of a.
Now, it's a touchy, it's almost like the goodie pile type of thing.
It's a social thing.
It touches a lot of nerves, yeah.
It's the only place you come and get something, one piece of wood that you can use, or 10 pieces of wood that you can use.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But you're
The loss of revenue-
but I'm just gonna say, you're gonna get to a point where, is that one piece of wood worth somebody getting run over by a loader that's in there? And then the next thing you know, you have a huge lawsuit for the town. It's a huge, huge liability. I'm sorry, I have a very strong stance on that. I don't like it at all.
Would you limit it? Like, just say,
Limit it?
yeah, 2 hours. These 2 hours in a day, you're allowed to be in there, and then the rest of the time you're not. you know.
I mean, it's an option. I'm not even so much in favor. I'm not hard and fast on it. Limiting it might be a step in the right direction, but I think,
I'm saying.
I think it's a construction, it's a work area, it's it's gonna be on our guys to obviously police it too and do it, but I just think it's a bad accident waiting to happen.
And I think we're the only town left that might do something like this. I'm surprised that our insurance company doesn't say more about it.
Maybe they don't know.
Yeah.
They've had to, they've been going on for
Yeah.
decades.
And we did have a couple of people, and we had some bad, we had
Yeah,
two
somebody
pretty,
cut their hand, somebody cut their leg.
yeah, coming out of there, so, I mean,
It's just something to think
I
about.
know it's it's definitely something I think we should talk about.
So where does that put us now? Where are we? Going down the line, the solid waste carding fees, so that's been a pretty consistent number, right, Amber? Going through the years.
We're under this year. 'Cause we're on track to go to be like 110,000 instead of 131,000.
Yeah, that's kind of
I
what
feel like we adjusted last year.
Because of COVID really threw us off, we've been adjusting up and down the last couple of years to try to get back to normal, which we haven't done yet.
Yeah, I had that projected out to
105,000.
109,595, so 110,000, yes, that's exactly what I had it projected to. That's 21,000 difference, yeah.
But now that's the one that has the contracts, it's,
He didn't get it the same.
or we may have to go out to bid.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That's
Right.
We're under this year, but that's one that we're going back out to
Yeah.
bid or the raising the price.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
All right, so
we may want to leave it.
yeah, I was gonna say, we'll leave it for now and see how.
I told them we're in the middle of the budget process, so get me a letter as soon as you can.
Yeah, even if they upped it 10%, that would be, another, 10,000 bucks on top of that, that would go to 120.
Everything else is the same on that page. We move to the next page. The only big difference is, again, if you look at that C and D hauling, we've been trying to adjust these numbers as we go the last couple of years, and we took it way down. And it doesn't look like we're gonna make the end of the year. So we took it back up again. Because there's just so much building going on.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that seems like the never-ending pile, that pile.
no, you're on,
But we get, on the C and D, that, we get revenues on that.
Right.
it's projecting out to very close to 130, where it is today. Yeah, very
I
close.
had 143. Calling C and D.
Yeah, it could be because it's at 96,000 for the first, so. 47,000 on top of that. Yeah, it's over that,
They're
yeah.
143.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you go to page 26, A2130A, that's C and D furniture in. I have the right line, Brian?
Yeah.
They won't.
Just looking at the revenues,
Oh, the
it's on the
revenues.
bottom.
821.
Yeah, because if we're over on expense, but our revenues are covering it, then I'm not that worried.
Yeah, our revenues are what?
Furniture.
And tracking on revenues versus the 143. Okay.
Yeah, so you're looking for $13,000, revenue source.
So we're gonna go up to 143?
Oh, well.
Are we talking about going up?
We're projecting if you.
Yeah, the 143.
That 143, yeah.
So if we're over there by 28,000, but we're tracking on the C and D furniture revenues, you're over by 30,000, you've got that extra expense covered.
Yeah.
But we're not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll keep an eye on that, so if we need to do a budget transfer to up the revenue and up the expense, keep us in line.
Okay.
And everything else is pretty much the same. in that.
The purchase of bags, Brian, you just do that once a year? Is that why that?
Yeah, we're doing that once a year now. So we just purchased bags to hold till next year. And in the middle of next year, we're gonna purchase bags for the 2025.
So when you, just out of curiosity, when you purchase those bags, do you purchase them for the IGA and everybody else and
Town bag for everybody.
for everybody?
Everybody.
So here for the clerk's office, everybody, okay. Well, people can obtain that in one of those places, either town hall here at the clerk's office.
Town hall, recycle. Yeah.
And,
No one's come in and bought them.
Yeah, I just wondering, because, cover their handling fee for selling the town bags for us.
Is that what, most of the bags, I would say that IGA or recycling center?
IGA.
IGA by far, yeah? And then recycling center, and then probably clerk's office, additionally, yeah, okay. And they just buy them at scale house is what they do?
Either buy them at the scale house or they just get weighed. A lot of people, they still get weighed. I don't know.
I'll put them in some other container and just.
They try to, all right, how much do I have? Am I gonna get ahead on the bag or the scale?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I get you. I think you're right.
If we keep going down to that piping plover, I know Jerry, he always tried to cut it, but we're gonna be doing a lot of dredging next year and we're gonna be needing that for bird monitoring because we're hoping to do Mananic, the Mananic project.
Yep.
And pump it over to Shell Beach. So I want to leave that there.
All right.
When you Shell Beach is typically they always pump it to the distal end, the easternmost tip. Could we pump it further where you have the issue with?
Well, that's where I want it. I want it right across the street from where it needs to be, and then we can probably have to bail it over.
At the turn of the road. Yeah, because that's the most susceptible spot.
Right.
That's where we planted all those grasses and they, half of them fell in.
That's what we want to build out.
Yeah, that's.
We're probably gonna have to handle it still
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they can't pump it over that area. It doesn't pump it up and over that road on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if they can get it one place, then we'll handle it and
bring it down.
bring it over and down.
Yeah. And probably in the near future after that, or shortly thereafter, another groin in that little.
One more going right there.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the plan, right? I mean, we're gonna try to
That would be an advice.
try to get some material in there first, and then we'll put that groin in, and hopefully
Yeah.
it solves that problem.
Yeah,
And then outside of just doing the point,
yeah,
every other year, we should be in good shape there on the whole beach.
yeah.
But the other groin is working very well, the new one that'll be put in.
Yes. Now, they work.
They do.
No doubt about
Yeah.
it. They do the job.
Okay, where are we going after this?
I think we then switch over to, anything on revenues in the A fund. So that would be page 26, and starting off with the A2130 series.
And we're on pace
there
for
we go.
furniture. I mean, we're actually on pace for 240, so the 230 is a good number.
Which is
Next
good.
one is-
We're all on
Yeah, I probably,
Sale of bags, not,
we're on page there too.
it should be okay now.
26.
What page are you on?
Page 26.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
A2130.
Fire disposal were down a little bit.
Got some,
Are we projecting a big increase in tire disposal then?
Yeah, you took that up, Brian.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it went
only
up,
$1,000.
it went up $1,000, because we've only taken in $604 for the first 8 months.
Yeah, why did we do that?
So we're up, we're on for under 1,000.
That, that's odd.
So we went from 2 to 3 rather than go from 2 to 1.
1,500?
Let me look at that first, see how many loads went out.
Were you working with internal numbers in your department, or were you working with Shelby's numbers?
I don't know what happened there. Let me look at the tire bin now. Let me see how many loads we did last year, how many loads we did already this year.
Okay.
To, because I know that we're paying $350 a ton for them, which is astronomical, but you know, you can't get rid of tires today. And in the new contract, they're probably gonna wanna go up.
Sure.
So let me look at that before we do anything.
Yeah, appliances were right on target. I mean, we kept it at 3, so we taken it to the first 8 months, and obviously 3 is a good number. Propane is fine. Wet garbage in is kind of on pace, almost a little under maybe, but, you know. Brush,
That's down.
yeah, we are down. We're not going to project our numbers there. We're not going to get to 190,000 unless brush numbers come up big in the fall. Is that typically what?
We've had a lot of brush come in this past month,
Okay, which would not be included in
would
this.
not be included in this.
And if you get a couple of, you know, nor'easters, yeah, I guess, or storms.
So you're gonna have like the
So
summer
there's no
construction
money to
start.
be made up there.
Clearing.
Concrete in, you're basically a little over. You've taken in 23, you projected 30. So you brought that down to 25. I don't know why did we bring that down to 25 when the first 8 months we brought in 23?
Because of the school. The school did their project and they brought in an ungodly amount of concrete and asphalt. That's why those numbers are so inflated.
Okay, all right, just needed that
So
extra.
those are those one-time projects that we're not gonna see in the future.
Concrete clean, so that's same rationale there? Okay. Clean asphalt, boy,
Yeah, that's.
what happened there that we got?
School parking lot.
That's the school parking lot,
School parking lot,
again, with the school project.
right, okay, so we're going back to realistic numbers, keeping it the same actually, without that.
Stumps.
Nothing there. Stumps, we're up a little bit with.
We're up on stumps.
Projecting another 5,000. We're on pace to do about 27 and change, so 25 is a good number. Cardboard,
Okay, cardboard.
yeah,
I just got the first check for the year, for about $4,000. We are not seeing the tonnage that we usually do.
with cardboard?
Yes.
People slow down their online ordering.
So
Yeah, well, then there aren't as many people here.
not only that, Manitowoc Sanitation takes a lot of it all down.
Yeah,
And I had
wow,
a company come over to talk about possibly buying our cardboard. And I said, we've only done 7 loads this year. He goes, what do you mean? I said, yeah, usually we're doing 300 ton a year. We've done just like 150. It's just not there.
Yeah.
yeah,
And he goes, where is it? I said, honestly, you're taking it. I said, what do you mean? I said, you're taking it in the back of your truck commingling with all the other stuff. You're taking it. Because they, you know, a lot of people went back, after COVID, went back to the commercial car taking it. And that's where that is. Mixed paper, we've only done like 5 loads. That's unheard of.
Wow.
so this number is too high then, Jeff, Brian,
Oh, way too high.
way too high, so
I
20,000,
was waiting for that first check.
yeah, so that's only 4K.
Yep.
12 maybe?
So depending on what the market might be doing next year, I would put $10,000,
Okay,
That's, I just wrote in here.
you know?
Yeah.
You know, of course, it is a market-driven commodity. A couple of years ago, we were getting $130, $140 a ton. Now we're only doing 80. a ton.
All right.
And the mixed paper is not much of a market at all, like $20 a ton. So after you pay your expenses, it's a wash.
Right.
What's this fill in, Brett? Oh, that's just fill?
It's just clean, this fill that comes in.
Yeah, okay. That's,
Leaves, I mean, that's,
I need to talk about.
It's on the next page. Commercial leaves, yeah, commercial leaves on the next page.
Okay.
So everything else is pretty much the same.
yeah, it
We
is.
get to the next page. Everything again is pretty much the same going down the line. And then that,
Just out of curiosity, Brian, since we talk about leaves, since we instituted that new policy of people paying in the fall, how much money would you say conservatively we've brought in as a result of that change?
almost what we have here, like 40, last year, 2022's number? That's when we started, 2022. So we only got like half a year.
Yeah,
At the end of this year, we'll have a true number,
okay.
okay? So the 17,000 that's there now was the first half of the year,
Yeah,
spring cleanup.
yeah.
It's the fall cleanup that
Correct.
we do well on.
So that number 45 should be reachable.
I think should be reasonable.
Okay. I mean, that is why I kept saying that, getting a point of 3/4 of a salary, of a $60,000 salary, just by doing that one move, which was
Well-
huge, because we needed that. I yelled for 7 years over that thing about why we weren't charging and getting all kinds of answers, but I'm glad we finally did it because it just doesn't go away. That product has to be dealt with up on a hill.
Well, that's the biggest piece of it. It's because you got to remember the handling of it.
Yeah,
I know.
handling of the
The fuel cost, the manpower,
machinery, and
it's a lot, it's a lot.
So we're gonna have another expense as well. The DEC just mandated Nassau, Suffolk counties by the end of the year, have a plan put in place for new test wells because of compost areas and mulch processing areas. So we're looking at putting in 3 new test wells. We've already,
on the south side, right?
on the south side,
South side.
contacted Fagan Engineers, who has been with us since we capped and closed. He is working on us, getting a price on the new wells and trying to scale back the DEC because they want to test it every quarter.
like a full test, a full.
Full test, full water, every quarter, which is very
It's expensive.
expensive. So we're trying to scale that back because we do our biannual testing now. So he's trying to scale that back to biannual in negotiations with the DEC. So I need a little bit more time on how much that's going to cost.
It's 3 wells?
3 wells,
Pretty well, Jeff. Yeah,
50 feet, shallow wells,
yeah.
just enough to take a water sample.
So.
So back in,
Well.
when we capped and closed, we put 3 wells in, it was $18,000, 25 years. So I can only imagine,
It's 8 to 10 per well.
yeah. So we're looking at,
High 20s or $30,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where is that number?
I would estimate 30 grand.
Not in here.
Yeah. I mean, even though they're not standard, it's not a standard well like you think about for putting water in or anything. It's for a testing purpose. So they're not putting a point.
Yeah, there's no point, there's
And they're
no pump.
they're not running electric or a pump to it, but you still gotta drill them and you still gotta,
So maybe 8.
yeah. I mean, I think.
Rate right now.
No, I think you're right.
It's
I'm just trying to clarify for them that I don't think it's not like you're putting something that's electrically drawn on it.
yeah, so he's actually
still gotta drill.
probably going to solicit bids up his area where you can get well drillers to come down for half the price of what it would cost for somebody on the line.
Excellent.
So that's what we're working on right now.
So what's the range there, then, number one?
I'd say 8 to 10 is fair per well.
Per well.
I mean, as a range, I mean, hopefully maybe we'll get lucky and it won't be as expensive. I think you have to.
I mean, if it's just a well with no additional infrastructure, it could be less.
Yeah.
You know, if it's really just a test well.
We have a line called test well repairs, but I think we should,
Yeah,
that's the line we need to look at, well, repairs and new.
And where is that?
It's
Back up.
8160, page 21.
It's right now at 3,500, so.
So far this year, so.
Oh, here it is, 8160. In Lane.
Oh, I see, okay. So last year, looking for here, the environmental testing, the 816444, we went up last year because of the more requirements in testing. So again, when we know how many times we're going to be testing these new wells, that will go into that line as well.
Okay.
So we know that we're going to be start testing these next year.
Underspent in that category this year.
I
Do you
can,
still have another round of testing to do though this year?
Oh,
yes, one more round.
Yeah.
okay.
So we're probably looking at,
Just under the 22.
right, so depending on how many times they want us to test these other three, we might be looking at another 22.
Right.
Although for, how many times a year do you test those?
We do twice a year.
Oh, okay, so it would be double then, okay.
Right.
We test for water, we do soil analysis and for methane.
That's it.
So, and soil as in our compost, our sweepings, and a fill that comes in. So we do a good amount of testing to make sure that we don't have any contamination on the site, which is, I think, we do more than we're supposed to, let's put it that way. We do more than we're supposed to test for. We always have.
Yeah, which is better safety. They do actually have some very strict regulations for like private entities that take in soil and take in mulch and compost and do it themselves. They have to test every pile. They have to like number and rotate them. It's a whole process. So a lot of people aren't doing it anymore.
While sitting above our drinking water, so. To test it.
All right, got anything else here?
No, now we have mechanics, we have brush and weed, and we have roads.
think there's more.
All right. Where we going at?
43,
33?
43,
43 it is.
yeah.
So personal services, contractual, longevity contractual. Going down, we already dropped the overtime a little bit.
Mechanic, okay.
And we left it at that. We dropped it, looking at the previous year and looking at what we already did this year. So, not a lot of breakdowns out of the normal workday. That cushion on the double overtime is always, the double overtime is where it really gets you. I mean, one or two mechanics come out on a double overtime day, that goes quick.
It's expensive, yeah.
The equipment line.
The equipment line, I have always waited till the end of the year to make sure we don't, I'm always afraid of a catastrophic failure before I don't spend it until the end of the year.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just the way I do things, I'm always afraid that I'm not gonna have any money when something happens.
Is there room, what was spent last year?
Fuel,
I mean,
Fuel prices went wacky.
yeah, it was crazy.
on equipment?
Oh, she's asking equipment.
Oh, I'm asking about equipment. Over the last couple of years, just,
I see.
I just want to know, yeah, if we couldn't. I know what you're saying, Brian, but.
So out of that, we're gonna get some new equipment, jack stand, and then we were thinking about a possible, last year we got electronic diagnostic machines that covers all our equipment, a universal machine. This year, we're possibly thinking about an AC
Recharge machine.
recharge machine because with all the vehicles the town has, we have to take them all off the island if anything happens to the AC. Which this year, we had the problem with the sweeper,
Right.
and it took the guy a month, if not more, to come over. No, it's summertime, so poor Kenny here lost a few pounds
Yeah.
sweeping the roads.
You're like a
Because it got
pheasant,
hot.
you're like a pheasant under glass in that thing when it's cooking, when it's hot.
Motorcyclist, you. Yeah.
And fuel, fuel,
Yeah.
again, is one of those, it just, the last couple of years, been fluctuating
Right, it was
all over the
crazy.
place. And now it's up again. I
Yeah,
mean, and,
We're projected to go about 25,000 based on the old numbers of fuel.
yeah,
Could we lower that slightly though?
we did, slightly.
Yeah, 52 to 50. I was still looking at 45, you know.
We're in the middle of grinding season,
Yeah.
so 300 gallons a day. It's gonna eat that. It's gonna eat that up quick. I mean, we have a single grind to do, and then we have double grind to do, so. I don't think we should shy too far away from that number.
Okay.
Machine repair is when I put the plus 5,000 and subtract it from the public works side. That'll be 130.
next one, machine repair, we're gonna,
That's the one we took out in the mower repair. We wanted, we said maybe eliminate that line and put it into this since it all basically is the same stuff.
The fluids, oils and grease, that's done. We just had our second delivery just 2 days ago. So that's gonna be eaten up. Grinder parts is gonna be, we spend that every year. So,
And that'll become increasingly more expensive as it ages, because
Right.
you're probably gonna have to,
that's why we went up 3,000.
You'll have to fix larger pieces.
right.
Refurbished equipment, just what that is, we bought the new Mack tractor. We did not get rid of the Freightliner because it's a backup, and we wanted to spend a little bit of money refurbishing that to keep that going. Even though it's 20-some years old, it's been a good truck. The engine was done when Aiden first got here 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So we want to, the paint's all faded. We're going to repaint that to look like the rest of the truck. That way, it doesn't just sit there and deteriorate.
It also, it's useful because we also with all the MS4 stuff we do, we take that excavator out on the road. So this way we can pull the low boy trailer with the excavator on it and the guys aren't being hamstrung at the landfill to keep hauling stuff off the island if they need to. So it's useful for having it right around here, especially.
Brush and weeds.
Yeah, brush and weed. So we took that one salary out of brush and weeds, moved it to landfill. That's why it's dropped. Longevity and vacation sellback, that all comes at the end of the year. Well, the vacation sellback does. Most of it does. So everything is the same there. As well as the deferred comp. The overtime, we came down a little bit. And the double overtime, we came down a little bit.
but you shouldn't have. No, why did it go, why?
Double overtime is over.
You went through your budget, so,
That was Juneteenth.
oh, right, that's right.
And it's all about wanting to raise this number. I have a note that we might want to raise that.
I'm sorry, we didn't lower it, we raised it by 1,000.
Which one?
The double overtime, I'm sorry. I just said we lowered it. We raised it 1,000 to 3,000.
No, I don't see that.
Yeah,
Well, we wanted to raise,
We wanted-
we want to raise it to 3.
Right.
gotcha.
Department proposed 3,000.
The rest is the same.
Outside contractors, how often do you use them? What do you use them for?
Well, the outside contractors, we also dig into that, the tree work. Or it's something that we want to keep. Kind of like the same thing with equipment rental. We'll dig into that, the same thing. Like, we were almost thinking about renting a sweeper. We finally got the sweeper back on the road. It's been broke down for a little while. We almost went out and rented one. So it's, that equipment rental is there for emergencies.
Now you're over in safety gear.
Yes, we are.
Should that,
I think that's because sometimes you have to order a large quantity. And we had a new employee. So he gets all the goodies, so to say. You know,
Yeah.
shirt, jackets, boots, sweatshirt. And
uniform clothing allowance?
Everything else is
It's kind of, yeah.
pretty much.
the clothing line is almost contractual.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's the same.
thinking.
Yeah. So we can put it at the end of the year.
I know we just did a new high-vis clothing order. And down on the bottom, the snow removal. We dropped the salt sand a couple of years ago because we were recycling sweepings. This year, they're talking about a worse winter than last year.
Farmer's Almanac says snow.
Yeah, but I just read something about not that we can predict this stuff. We've got a lot of Nino and La Nino, and it's gonna be less snow because of that. I thought here, no? I know, I mean, these predictions are. But is this a trend over time that we could?
I don't know, I think it fluctuates. It really depends.
It does, it does
Because I mean,
fluctuate.
like, 5-6 years ago, we had a huge snow. Like,
Yeah.
we have just tons of snow.
Yeah.
And then we've had like nothing. It's just been drizzling. But that-
Yeah, like 2000.
You're never in this. Yeah.
Have we ever spent this kind of money? I wonder. In snow removal?
Oh, I would think you have.
Send someone an analysis.
Yeah, I think if
It's
we go
also
back to
like ice is an
2014,
issue.
15.
First year I started working here, we had multiple days where it was like
Blizzardy.
24-hour around the clocks. It was a lot. We had a couple of big ones over there.
Forward this to you.
We just can't.
Thanks, I'm just-
Weather.
Right.
Is there some type of
I sent it to Jim and Jerry, but I'll.
policy on the number of inches before you send out I mean, I know our guys, like last year, it was nothing, and we got a slight little, like an inch that covered the road. It was early morning, so I know the school were concerned about it icing over and temperatures. There's a lot of factors that go into whether you send them out or not, so it doesn't get black ice.
Based on when the police
When the
are
police-
on tour. They know if it's slippery, if it's not, we get a phone call.
They kind of
When they call, we go out.
I mean, if there's a big storm, obviously, that sort of,
sure.
that speaks for itself, but night, things like that, if they're out, because they're out all night, right? So they can, if they're driving at 6 a.m. and say, hey, it's slick out here on the road, they call us and then we go out,
Because then-
salt it or sand it or whatever.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is my memory serves me correct, they had a school delay, at this little anticipation of an inch or two, and they opened up at 10 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock, the sun had been out, the snow had gone, it was,
Right.
the roads were almost dry. At the plows are out at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not concerned about the pay. I'm
Right.
concerned about the condition of the roads when you don't get a significant amount of snow, and you're plowing on a very thin, amount of snow. And I know.
Yeah, there's a,
It's,
yeah, we're not usually, if it's something like that, it's mostly we'll go out, something like that, where we'll determine you go out and maybe you put down salt first or salt sand in a place and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it
Yeah.
can be sometimes a little bit of a crapshoot because you don't want to just dump a bunch of material on the road only to just scrape it off the road if it gets too much. But I
Right.
think generally, you're gonna give it a little time and you can determine, but we won't start pushing it till it's, 2-3 inches on the road at least, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we're down to roads. First one,
Just going back to the, our high year was 2015, which was 90,679. Just the snow removal line.
Yeah, just personnel, for sure. Wow.
Yeah, I made sure that it wasn't like taking money out and putting it in other places. No, it was just.
So the
Salary.
average over the past 11 years, was 42,000.
Oh, if that's the average 42, I'm comfortable with the 50 then.
Yeah.
That's a good yardstick when you look over the, hopefully, we are trending down, but, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, last
Not
year
one
we
we can count on
spent
yet.
41,000 in 2022.
Yeah.
I don't think that was that bad.
I know.
You spent how much?
I know.
41,000.
Feel like.
I know, I'm trying to think of like, where was that?
No, we had a couple of like 6-8 inch type of things,
And it might have been stuff that happened like,
Like January.
yeah,
and
that got posted, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
So it like didn't pile up in 1 year, like
Yeah.
Right,
one
it's
Yeah,
season.
that is true. That's true.
Alright.
so on roads, personal, that's contractual, overtime, came down a little bit,
Where roads go?
Page 48,
48.
DB 511.
DB. I'm like, I have the right page here and I can't find it here. I got it now. We're
Yep.
good.
Really, the only big things is we went up on the fuel a little bit. Again. Not by much.
What happened with highway improvements? Why did we modify that budget and we haven't spent much of it? Oh, this is Corzine.
That's paving.
Catch up?
He actually called me today.
Yeah,
He's probably a couple weeks out.
yeah, okay.
What were we aiming at, Brian, for that?
So we're aiming that stretch on Brandon Parkway between Lilliput and right before Dr. Kelt's there, the corner, it meets up with a new edge of asphalt.
Yep.
We're doing that. We're doing
Baldwin.
Baldwin, as far as I can go, all the way almost to Fresh Pond. Okay, big stretch of that. That's really
Yeah, that's, okay.
bad.
Yeah.
We're
those
gonna
things.
fix, in Hay Beach, we repaved, last couple of years, we did a lot of repaving in Hay
You
Beach.
did, yes.
And we changed the road elevations just enough to flood some people out.
Yeah.
So we're having a water issue down there. So we're gonna fix that and we're gonna pave Crescent. We're gonna pave Hay Beach Road and Eastview, which is where all that water is directed. We're going to, what's the other ones here?
The good thing about getting it done, sooner rather than later, is to leave, when fall sets in and, end of October, beginning of November, everything starts dropping. In a place like that has tons of trees, the cleaning up of the road before the paving is a job in itself.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that or they do that prep?
We mostly do the cleanup for them. I mean, if they're grinding the road, if they have to, they're grinding areas, they'll do that. We sometimes help sweep up those
Blow the road
millings too,
off.
but blow the road off. Like, if they're coming that morning, we'll go out there with a blower, blow the road off, sweep the road if we have to, and then
Okay.
they have stuff to kind of do it as they're going too, but,
Yeah.
are we doing Ram Island Road too, Brian? Piece of Ram, did we talk about that in that dip?
Like when you.
I can't remember where we was
Between
sitting.
November
thought it
1st
was
and like
in there.
November, 20th. every leaf in the island's coming down.
Well, they try to do it too before the weather gets too cold
Yes.
too, because then it
It's
can't,
a little iffy, yeah.
can't do it too cold.
But it's about 430,000, just the estimates that we have paid.
That's chips in the budget, right?
Yes.
So we haven't gotten a grant through Theo or anybody else in several years, right?
Since 2019.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Have we asked for one or we don't? We think that we're just on pace to maintain the roads the way we have it.
So that's, the last one we got was multimodal.
Yeah,
And so as older senators and assemblymen go out and new ones come in,
yeah.
it changes a little bit because they have to new people have to learn
The ropes, so
the ropes, so
Yeah.
Jen's gonna help us on that.
And then storm drain maintenance, you're gonna put some of those in?
We already started.
Okay. So we'll use that budget.
Oh, yeah, we usually do. Again, you were talking a second excavator,
Yeah.
that would help us tremendous. Because again, we have one excavator in the recycling center, we're trying to put drains in.
Yeah.
After you use, how many rings do you think you use? A dozen?
So far this year,
Yeah. And projected for the rest of the year?
we have 1, 2, 3 systems to put in Dan Harbor. We're contracting with them for their MS4 program that they're gonna reimburse us for material and labor. And we still have 1, 2, trying to get 1, 2, 3 more on our own road. We did the big one down at Ram Island, that huge puddle that, because of the new house that was built.
Right.
We took care of that last month. Actually, it was September, it was this
Yeah,
month.
just a couple weeks ago.
So, but every time I know that you're concerned about all the rings and stuff down there. We try to keep replenishing them through this money every year and keep a stockpile.
Well, the only thing is I need a plan of attack of where this stuff is gonna be stored for future. You know, so it's not gonna be I don't see one spot that's gonna absorb all of that. It might be piecemeal, you might have to find 3 or 4 places and, you know, at the recycling center, new use of property, we can start to have a plan where we are gonna take, you know, these items and put them here. And we're gonna free up that area, you know, for housing, hopefully, for the future. But that's, I mean, I don't care who sits in these chairs, eventually, hopefully that's gonna happen, you know? So we need a place, we need to think about that. We need to think about maybe doing a piecemeal, you know, you can't do it all at once. It's a yeoman's task, got a lot of stuff stored there.
Yeah.
Think about, you know, getting rid of some of that stuff. Some of it is just junk.
Well, we've definitely,
Oh, yeah, that was,
Some of it you just can't. You
yeah.
know, the condition that it's.
I've got sort of a plan for some of that stuff. I'm sort of,
Okay.
I've had my eye on a lot of things. I'm sort of the cleaner. I get a little cleaning down there. And, you know, you hit a certain point where some of these things, it's gonna have to go to create space. And I think we can also, I mean, Brian and I talked too, because, you know, we've heard the same conversations about there, and we've got some ideas that he and I come up with, I think, for existing land that we have at the recycling area. And I already started doing a little bit of work on one spot particular that we did some stuff that we can definitely turn into some, you know, valuable storage space. I think it can be done. I mean, it would just has to be.
You know, don't forget that Jim especially has been bringing up the skate park, that he really would like to see that just go. Because it's a liability, it's not, you know,
Right.
nobody really wants the responsibility of it interdepartmentally. So that could be utilized too, especially for something that needs to be locked up.
Right. Well, I mean, that could, just thinking off the top of my head, that could end up being a place that becomes some sort of portion of the impound yard of some type if they gotta get rid
That
of
would
it.
be, that's a perfect spot for some of that for the impound.
For some.
It really is.
I think it's, so, yeah, I think we We've got the ability to do it. I will say that I think, I've said this when we were talking just briefly about it, but, in moving into that role of maybe taking over some of the property that we have we still own, that's part of the recycling center, it's gonna be a project that's going to be, that's something, honestly, I mean, we're sitting here at budget season, but, it's gotta be something that's gonna have to be done, I think, not just out of the highway department's budget too, when we get down to it, because you're talking, if we're gonna reclaim some space down there to do something, you're gonna talk about, we could use a number of the drainage rings that we have down there just to create the drainage. So you're gonna have to create some drainage, you're gonna have to create, a drivable base for things to go on if you're talking about bringing trucks and trailers and storing large pieces of, so.
This is great conversation, but we're planning for the year ahead.
Right.
So I'm just saying that we gotta think about that for the 2024 budget. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're putting it off another whole year. You might be able to get bits and pieces out of there, but if you want to move that whole thing to several different locations at the recycling center, it's gotta be planned for, and it should be budgeted for.
So you guys only have one excavator.
Yeah.
So if that goes
Right.
down.
It's been down for 2 weeks.
yeah.
Right,
Now.
and that's a
And
problem,
so that backs up your whole
Backs
mulch
everything up.
process, everything.
yeah.
Dry wells, mulch.
So do we have a plan for purchasing a second one?
The plan is we're waiting for DEC grant money to come back,
Okay,
and then we don't know if it's a month, or if it's 3 months, or if it's 6 months.
right.
But it's the hope that we would.
When that,
We are definitely due back on that
Comes
this
in,
year.
we're
And the
hoping to-
recycling roof.
we have the estimates, we have the
Yeah.
machine picked out, we have
Okay.
everything.
All right.
The last time we got an update from Jen Veziano, it was like maybe 6 months out, so that was a
Right.
month ago, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's something we want, I think
Yeah.
I think, we talk about not only what we want to do out on the road with the drain projects and everything to keep it going, but it's also, we're in this kind of thing, where all the people, we have multiples of some of our bigger pieces of equipment down there, mostly for the reason that something ever goes down. I mean, this is a perfect example. Take a look at the brush pile. The excavator's been down for almost 2 weeks, so we can't get up there to start grinding the brush, and it's almost getting to a point where you can't pass it. So on a simple level right there, to keep up with the process up there to have it, but it also, if you have them all working in concert with one another, you could also maybe get a lot more done. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to consider,
Yeah.
Could you buy the excavator and, on a loan and, just
Well, we could,
end up paid off?
it just doesn't work out right now because we don't want to go below a certain amount in case there is an emergency.
Right.
So,
And then,
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a place where I think we're obviously, we've been doing it for a while, and Brett has a very good understanding of how, what needs to happen and what stages for all the varying grinding, the different grinding applications, but I think, it's not an emergency, but I think it's gonna be a necessity eventually we're gonna need it. I think it's something that, can come back to us in spades on a lot of levels, really, so.
That's a good
that's what I
point.
was thinking.
I think that was it.
The revenues, 850. Chips entitlement, see, that's an in and an out, so that projected 180. I don't, it's like somebody told us that number.
That fluctuates. Last year, we got more money. We petitioned, they said they were gonna take it away from us this year, but they didn't. They actually gave us more. So there's CHIPS, there's New York paved, there's extreme winter recovery. So we have actually more than,
So those programs are continuing.
yes, they're just continuing.
Amber, if you want to look at that, that's where it came from.
And the one thing that we didn't get was any of the money, the COVID money for infrastructure or anything, didn't come down to any local level whatsoever. Nobody got any money, any of that $6 billion.
Okay.
We'd only ask for half of that. We would do it $1 billion.
Kenny, you're gonna do a fine job, but we're gonna miss Brian. Just saying, of all that's in your head. You,
That's why I'm sitting next to him.
No, we've been working close together.
a mind meld.
Believe me, I wish I could. I'm trying via osmosis to be as close to him as possible.
Only a phone call away, but he's several states away.
I know.
Yeah.
Got to say Shell.
You may just stop answering the phone.
Ryan Sherman, he doesn't live here.
I know.
He doesn't live here.
It's gonna be in his flip-flops with
At the
a
beach.
margarita in his hand. He's gonna be, why is this guy calling me again?
Tired.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get as much done as
Yeah.
everything that started. It's frustrating, you know, that the DEC holds you up.
Yeah,
That is,
All these governmental agencies, you kids.
yes.
government's the worst.
I was just, so we were gonna go from 10 to 12 today, we're already half an hour plus over. And then we had Joe on the schedule, I see Joe still, you're online. Do you wanna come down and talk to us now, or we have an open slot from 2 to 2:30 on Monday?
I won't be here on Monday.
Oh, do you need to be here for the hydrologist, conversation?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'll just come down now if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I don't have any place to be on Wednesday. At 3 o'clock, we've got the West.
I was gonna say, yeah, I just need to prep for Westwick Water.
Yeah, Monday's a kind of crazy day for me.
So after Joe, we're done.
Yes, yes, and then while we're waiting for Joe to come down on Monday, we start at 1 o'clock. And we've got Judith coming in, we've got Amber coming in, we have a little opening from 2:30, but it looks like maybe, Jack said, that's Tuesday.
It's gonna come, yeah, on the 3rd.
Yes, we have a little bit of an opening, Kelly, and then Chief Reed. So we're supposed to go from 1 to 4 on Monday.
Oh,
Or on Monday.
oh, good, no way.
Yes,
So just, yeah,
Tuesday, we were going to meet
10 to 12.
at 10 a.m.,
Yeah, I have a,
but no more than 2 hours on.
I have a capital planning meeting at 9.
And then Wednesday, we were gonna meet again from
11 a.m. After June check.
You want to come up here, Jim?
Sure. The seat is warm, Joe.
so Tuesday,
Very warm.
Jack's coming in and then potentially Historical Society at 10:30. Judy's waiting confirmation.
That was a mild shakedown, Joe.
That was a light shakedown, yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, that's right.
I think they
You
want,
guys up.
yeah.
All right, are we
Yeah, they
only,
want to make their.
only focused in on the hydrologist thing? Is that our main
I'm here for the WAC budget.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
All right. So that's B fund.
B fund is.
Fun, right?
B fund, WAC is
38.
in page 3.
38? Is that, yeah, water advisory?
Yeah, page 38, and it's B 8030.
Yeah. Yep.
I thought you had socks and sandals on.
Yeah,
Clerk is not an issue. The office and miscellaneous is obviously not an issue because we've already expended more than the $500. You asked for 1,000, Joe, and then the supervisor said 500. We've already spent 750 for the year, for the first 8 months. So we're on target to spend around 1,100,
What do
1,200.
you want to buy next year for 1,000, Joe?
WAC.
Or WAC?
Yeah.
Mailing, that was the mailing we did.
yeah,
That's what
Yeah,
that
we
is.
want to do a saltwater, you know,
Yeah,
for
so-
the,
Yes.
so
we
the
should-
Silver Beach,
Yeah.
Monantic Peninsula, so I think that should.
We should
That should stay, yeah, so, all right.
The 1,000 should stay? Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
Can that be integrated to the WQI request for the testing funding? I mean, honestly, it's a nominal amount of money. It
Yeah.
seems like if it's not this, we'll use it in some other fashion.
Yeah, I just don't like nickel and diming,
Yeah,
you know.
I don't
at
either.
times.
Yeah.
And communications, I think that also extends to some of the public outreach programs with signage, posters, things like that.
And they really want to step up the education. You know, I think they're just getting their foothold on the fertilizer issue.
Yes.
You know, and having, you know, seminar or whatever, but trying.
Yes, yeah, those,
Yeah,
Dollar for dollar, those are great value, I think, for the community. These are all volunteers in the first place. And they've really increased the frequency with public meetings and engagement opportunities. They're hosting a series of, technical talks, so to speak, at the library. This is the second summer in a row now. So largely, I think those have been very successful. They continue to get pretty good attendance. So, in terms of budgeting, that seems like really great value for the outcomes.
You sold us on that,
Yeah,
Joe.
there was 24 last
Right.
night. How late did you guys go? I had to leave early.
We went just until just about 7. At that point, I was like, guys, the library closes at 7, we have to leave. But it went well. It was.
Yeah, that was-
Yeah, there was good participation
Yeah, it
from the
was.
community, so, and it's another great outlet for folks to come and talk to their government absent, town board meetings or work sessions, so I think it's a great outlet.
So the next one is on water level monitoring, USGS.
Yeah.
You've already spent 16 plus. We only had in the budget.
It's a contract, isn't
That's a contract.
Okay.
So Joe and I talked about,
That's okay.
and with Peter, some of these numbers.
Yeah, so that's a contract, that's for your own knowledge, that's the opening line of every agenda for the WAC. What's the aquifer water levels? The USGS provides us that service. They also provide the equipment. And they've also increased the complexity and the scale of the
Real-time
equipment
monitor.
that they're using. Yes, we have real-time monitoring on some of the wells now.
Bugs.
Some bugs, but that was all done at no cost to us, so sort of a freebie provided by them. That's really the foundation for all of the discussions at WAC. It's always about, this monitoring program, rainfall, et cetera, et cetera. So, we have already signed a contract anyway, so I don't think this number is something we can do anything about this year.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have the exact number
Yeah, so
from
the
the
real
contract.
number for next year for that will be 22,100, so only 100.
22,100, that's $100.
And I think it's next year that it expires, end of 2024. Yeah.
We put in that tail end of the contract number back on our, the worksheets. Remember, we used to have like 256 related.
Oh,
to
yes, yes,
water
yes.
level monitoring and water quality was like the
Yeah.
257 contract, just to make it easier for.
Yeah, I have that number.
more people know which contract.
Contract
we're
number.
referencing.
All right, want to educate us on the need for that hydrologist
Wait,
consultant?
oh, no.
Well, I was gonna say,
Water intrusion.
Well, and there's good news on that. So we actually budgeted this for last year and have the contract, but haven't executed it yet. So this doesn't need to be in this year's budget. This can carry over. Yeah,
So
so
this is
0 for next year, but it'll just.
20,000 is out?
Oh, because
They have a contract.
Okay,
Joe, that
perfect.
20,000 is out?
it's out, yeah.
So
We-
what does this contract cover?
So this is a proposal for a new monitoring effort to determine that saltwater interface through monitoring wells. And we had done the legwork to get this set up previously. I'm actually not sure in hindsight why this wasn't executed. We have the money from the previous year and it matches with the proposal, so we don't need to include, this would be another double expense, I guess. if
Right.
we could-
This isn't where they do the field, they do this is actually, remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, they
We
did
came in and
a-
talked about
Yeah. How do they do the saltwater intrusion monitoring?
The actual monitoring is through some like electrochemical process. They understand where the salinity lines are.
Right, yeah.
I understand it to be through our existing network of wells because the budget is too low to include, a widespread,
Yeah.
more monitoring wells. Doesn't seem like that would line up. But I actually don't remember getting this proposal, so this may predate, this may be several years old that this conversation started.
Okay.
In any case, it's not a budgetary issue for this year. So,
Cool.
You were right on that. It was now an array up in the fields.
Yeah.
That these test wells were going. Yeah, they had them spaced out, in several different.
Something like electron, because of saltwater.
Conductivity, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Electromagnetic, yeah.
All right, water testing.
water testing, yeah, so this is worth, some other discussion if we're going to continue the mechanics of getting funds through the WQI for those larger projects. I think this particular budget item is for those smaller scale testing programs where they had like a booth set up at the Green Expo or something and people came. They were talking about getting one of these, instant
Right.
nitrogen meters so people could bring a sample in. So I think this isn't necessarily, this is a little bit open-ended on how these funds would be applied. But there are several things that they could use this money towards. So I don't want to sound wishy-washy about it.
Right.
But certainly this was discussed prior to our more robust water testing program, citizen water testing program. And that's obviously, I think, a higher priority.
Right.
We had some with them purchasing the meter itself, there was some concern about offering folks unofficial test results,
Yeah.
without a proper chain of custody. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily to have this, but there could be more discussion about whether we want to.
Well, I mean, ultimately, that was why we went the direction we went.
Yes, that's a very good
And do
point.
all the water testing, because that's actually what spurred, this line item on the budget is what spurred that conversation that resulted in Goldman doing the testing instead of us or the committee
Yeah.
doing it, because there's such a high margin of error when it comes to self-testing and, risk for contamination. You don't want to be giving people bad information. So,
And bearing the
bearing the responsibility,
of
or,
having done that,
it seemed like more of a liability issue when I spoke to Stephen about it. So that was why we went with hiring a professional who has the proper chain of custody, they have the proper training, and then it's also not on us. So, yeah.
So in any case, I think that's, a reasonable budget request for what they were doing. I know that the committee would make use of it. But quite frankly, I think that $5,000 is best suited wrapped up into the citizen science
I was
budget
gonna say, it
request.
looks like a duplicate line item.
Yeah, and I think actually the 5,000 for the citizen science effort is probably on the light side. So, we could keep these separated if you supported, the total amount. I would be in favor of at least having the flexibility to merge them because they may be the same kind of effort. The citizen science line item here is also somewhat open-ended, but intentionally. We want to be able to support those testing efforts, those research efforts. So, if we had, $10,000 allocated for that, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So now I've safely jumped over all of the non-controversial items. And then there's, obviously the elephant in the budget here, which is the $40,000 allocation towards the hydrologist professional services. And, certainly this is something that's been discussed at length in the WAC meetings themselves amongst the committee members. But it's also now expanded beyond, it comes up quite frequently in town board discussions.
Vote to WAC, just to say. They recommended that it be done, hired.
Right. And I certainly agree with that in concept. It's, I think, a little challenging for me to come to you asking for this particular amount of money because the scope isn't really defined yet.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with it too.
And, certainly I support this, as do the WAC members. The number itself, because I feel this is somewhat of a important detail. How much really is it? Less about the existence of the line item, more about how much it is. And that's a bit of a challenge to either to defend and also to demand. Not knowing, and it's a bit of an iterative process. Not knowing how the town board views this particular exercise is problematic. And how do we come up with a number? Is this the type of expenditure that the town board will rely on for a number of water-related policy decisions? That's going to inflate this cost. If we're looking at it on a singular issue, is there a project coming up or a particular policy we want to address? We can make this number represent what we think that effort is. Simply, putting down a hydrologist is difficult to say whether this amount of money is sufficient or insufficient. But it seems to me like there's general consensus that this line item should exist. So,
And I'm somewhat comfortable with that to the point of defining the scope of why it's necessary, why it's needed. But it's got to be sold on it. So I know it's $40,000, but we are looking at a budget that, we're inheriting at 11.9%. And that's not going to sit well with me. And I know there are, 4.5% right here on my paper that I distributed to you guys that we can't even deal with, retirement systems and everything else. And salary raises, which is another 3%. You add those two together, you're at 7.4%, and you have no control over those, 7.4%. So you're dealing with that extra 4% that's in there, 4.5% or so that we need to cut. So I've got to be convinced because to me, I'm not going to support a budget that's anywhere close to 11.9%.
You have to find $750,000.
Yes.
And everything we've heard is reasonable.
Yeah.
Ain't that always the way?
But what's not reasonable in my mind, obviously, is the elephant in the room is people can't afford to live on the island, and if we up the price of what we're spending on this budget and we're forcing the taxes up, we're speaking out of both sides of our mouth. We recognize the fact that people can't afford to live here, yet we find the need to go out and raise, our taxes this much. So we've got to make some strong decisions. And everybody's got to understand that. Got to be convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt that this is where we're going and why it's necessary.
Meg has just said this over and over again, don't just tell me you need a hydrologist, tell me what you
Tell
study.
me what you need it for.
Tell me what you need, tell me what the goal is.
What is your end game? Like, what information do we lack that you need a hydrologist to give you? And no one's been able to define that for me.
Right.
I understand it's an important skill, but no one's been able to define exactly what we need it for.
Yeah.
We can get ground flow modeling from the study that Suffolk County did when they did their master study. We can get a lot of this information from other sources where it's already been done. I need to know what you need that's different from that, what you need that's outside of that scope.
Right, and I've been arguing that prior to a hydrologist, we need a facilities master plan. And that's not cheap either. So if we have to choose, I'm gonna say not next year for the hydrologist. And also recognize that, I don't know where we'll find the money for the facilities master plan either. But I do know that the priority should be, let's figure out what we need here.
Right.
And then maybe have to use a hydrologist on a consulting basis to see what the impact might be, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or once we know what we need here, then how are we gonna deal with the wastewater? Once we reconfigure and build new buildings and,
And I think BJ has stated exactly where I'm coming from too with these two items. We have to, having a project manager, having, a plan for the island, for where we're going, with so many things is so important. We're at that point where we need that direction, that vision, Hydrologist, again, is something that, we've been very supportive of water in my 7 or 8 years here. We've always supported everything about USGS and testing and everything that we've done, been very supportive. This is so vague that I can't get behind it 100% at all. But it's just something that maybe for 2025, the future town board will sit down here and say, yeah, now it's time. But I'd like to have that planning done, that in my own mind before this.
The things I've always thought we needed a hydrologist for is on the large homes. So that, I remember one in Ram Island where, there's concern from the irrigation reports that we've gotten over the years that people, if they irrigated their lawns too much, so there was, the chloride levels were going up, and so they had to be told to stop. So when I can't remember which house it was, but it was like a 3-acre parcel on Little Ram. It was greater than 6,000 square feet. It was like, well, what's going to be the impact on the neighbors? So I'd like to be able to, as a town board, say, okay, let's get a hydrology report.
but shouldn't they pay for that?
Well, that's, but that's what I'm wondering is, how much does it cost for something like that? And I guess we could look to see this hydrologist report, how much did that cost for wastewater? Put that on the homeowner, but then do we also want to have somebody check it for us to make sure that they're using good assumptions and?
Well, I think, Well, I don't, gosh,
But that wouldn't be part of the WAC budget. That would be part of our professional services budget.
Right.
Right, that's, I mean, that, I keep coming back to it's in professional services, because we have Grocer on retainer for some of these other things, like Secra, Valley, thing like that. They have the ability to use their hydrologist to check things like that. So I don't know that we need a specific line item for this unless we have a project or a study that we need to do, like unless we have a defined scope of work. You know, and I don't see that right now. I see people have concerns, and concerns are valid, but I haven't seen a concern with a defined scope,
right.
you know?
I think also with the hydrologist too, it should be, if homeowners are gonna pay for it, if that's the sort of thing we're thinking of too, you know, that you're mentioning, that it should be from a list of hydrologists that we approve. Or, you know, I mean, it's sort of like when an engineer stamps something, I don't know that, you know, he's not on, taking something onto the table, but I have to make some assumptions, you know, that.
And I agree.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Right.
Yeah, not to
Yeah,
disparage
right,
the consultant who's, yeah.
right.
But
That's what we're
also,
looking at
if it's,
assumptions.
you know, if the concern is saltwater intrusion when it comes to large homes in the near shore, well, maybe the saltwater intrusion study that we already have $20,000 in the budget for might tell us where that line has been moving to, and that could give us some benchmark information. You know, just kind of looking at what we already have and
WAC next meets on October 16th. Should we make that like the number one agenda item for that meeting? For them to discuss and.
Yeah,
I give them a heads up now, you know, I mean, I don't know how many of them tune into something like this, probably not a lot.
No,
But I would give them some feedback, Joe.
yeah,
Share our comments with them and let them either develop something prior to that or discuss that at the next meeting, but sooner rather than later.
yeah. Well, look, I mean, I don't think any of them are sort of ignorant to the overall problem here with, you know, making the budget work. You know, and at the same time, there are many other additions here to their resources. You know, we kind of forgot about the saltwater intrusion program. That's something that's vitally important, and we have the opportunity to execute on now. You know, there are hopefully supported by the board other additions like the citizen science budget, these smaller ticket items. So, you know, certainly there are some nice things here for the WAC. You know, when I reflect on their ask for resources on the hydrologist, I think it's really from a place that the town board is tasking this committee with some pretty big picture policy recommendations, irrigation policy, wastewater contemplation, even something that's sort of integrated in irrigation like cistern use. These things come up all the time at these meetings. And while the WAC group is, you know, a fielded group of some experts in different fields, you know, everybody brings their own individual expertise, but they're not professional hydrologists. I think that group particularly feels the need for access to professionals to help them make these recommendations, because very often the meetings, I think, move laterally because there's a lack of expertise on this given issue. And because these particular topics have become so contentious and so complex throughout the community, it's not as simple as a group of knowledgeable people. You know, I can think of a lot of committees in the same group. Sure. It's not as simple as a group of knowledgeable people giving their best guess and then forming policy anymore. Policies have to be based in, you know, absolutely rock solid analysis by a certified professional. Otherwise, the unhappy group from the policy has so much, you know, influence and momentum now that it gets stalled and we really lack the ability to make progress. So I think you guys understand that, but I shared that just to give context to why the group is asking for these funds, because I think they are recognizing the need for a level of professionalism to explore these things that have been asked of them. They don't feel like they can effectively do that and deliver to the town board, you know, sort of a rock solid stamp of approval, knowing that you can defend that as well. Some of these things are, you know, quite frankly, not going to be resolved in the next couple of months. These are big island-wide water policies, but certainly there are a number that I think they could have an impact on. Irrigation's one of them, but we did an irrigation study. There is an analysis that informed the original irrigation law that went into effect. So, there are other resources we could take advantage of. What Meg's point about looking at, modeling from other agencies, that's totally right. There is a lot of data that we have at our disposal that isn't always integrated. But I think it's important to add that context when you say, oh, the scope's not really defined. It's iterative. It's kind of not defined on purpose because there are so many things that they could use it for. At the same time, they don't have the, I think the guidance to say, pick, do exclusively this.
Right.
And then they ask what it would inform
I
that.
think what we need to do is communicate better with the committees, because I don't think we need them to solve all the problems, but give us a list of questions. And
Right.
kind of give us the topics that we need to delve into deeper so that we can do things like allot for it in the budget. Because I don't think it's appropriate necessarily for the committee to say, this is your policy on irrigation, just approve it.
Totally,
I think
yeah.
it's more appropriate for them to say, this is everything that we've come up with. These are the questions we still have, and this is what we recommend you follow up with, or what you maybe need to study, or maybe what you need to consider more thoroughly.
Right.
And I think that's what we need to talk to the committees about, is what they then hand off to us.
And don't forget,
because-
there's my office to execute those
Right.
projects as well. I mean, the WAC doesn't need to
Right.
duplicatively, be managing
Right.
consultants. So there's another established
Because I
pathway
don't
for that.
feel like that's necessarily within their scope as a volunteer committee,
Definitely.
So I think they should definitely be brainstorming, coming up with the best ideas, suggestions, recommendations, but then also have a list of things that need deeper study and research. And that would go to you, that would go to the board, so I don't think I think we need to kind of revamp how we, or how they feel they're being directed, yeah. Because, this is a budget item that I don't necessarily think should be in a volunteer committee. It should be
That's actually a very
somewhere
good point.
in, it should be in, the engineers department or, professional services, so.
Have we done that before? I mean, historically, do professional services go to these advisory committees? I mean, obviously, like planning board, zoning board are different,
They're
but is there a precedence for, WMAC to have a consultant come on for a particular issue?
Yeah, it
I
hasn't
think we've
been.
done like a little bit for community housing, just,
Yeah.
to have somebody, like legal in case we needed to go out and have some special legislation, or contracts and things, RFP.
Right, I mean, that's like,
A little bit, but not to this magnitude.
well, I was gonna say, Community Preservation Fund has, legal staff and things like that.
But
surveying,
Yeah, but
but-
they're kind of like
That's in
planning
any
board
remit,
and
they're
CBA as well.
state
Like, they're-
ordinance,
yeah.
they're,
Yes.
come from-
They're boards that
right,
Have it built in.
can't Zoom.
right. If you can't Zoom, you shouldn't have your own consultant.
Yeah, because I see that conflict, professional services being administered by a volunteer advisory group. Seems
Yeah.
like that maybe that line item should be in another budget. Like professional services or engineering department, something like that. Okay, well, look, I think,
Is there anything else that we?
No, I think you guys can go.
Yes.
Be free.
all right, well, I made my pitch.
Good job, Joe.
What's that? So far, yeah.
It's the, yeah. I can double check. It's
Yeah.
after election day, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought,
Like by the Thursday after election day.
okay, I was gonna say, I thought a public hearing for the budget was supposed to be November 8th, and then it has to be adopted
Friday
by.
20th.
Yeah, I had that written in.
Just getting my timing right, because if people are gonna come back to us with anything, I wanted to know when the public hearing was and when we actually adopt.
Maybe I put it in my other.
How far in advance do you have to do the breaking through the cap, or did you already do
So,
Override.
Did we do that resolution to override the cap?
No.
Okay. We should, yeah, we usually.
You can just do it, yeah, might not be
do that
ready
in the
next
next one, but thank you for reminding us on that. Yeah, we did that for the.
Town board meeting next week, possible?
Yeah.
Because the wording you probably have,
The budget.
you know, Amber from last year.
So is that
Yeah.
November 9th, that's the date we have to adopt? Okay.
It's a Thursday after election.
Yes, the Thursday after election, you have to.
Right.
Oh, so then when is our public hearing then?
So that should
We have to
be,
do the 31st.
Yeah, so we should have a clearer picture tonight
Yeah, let's get the exact dates, yeah,
with
because
the
the
department meetings
timetable is
next
slightly
week.
different than the fire district, I know what those dates are.
Yeah.
We've already did our resolution.
Public hearing has to be on or before the Thursday immediately following the election.
No, so we don't have to adopt it then.
public
So
hearing
public budget, public hearing, okay.
on November 9th at the latest.
So next
Budget
week,
needs to be adopted no later than November 20th.
Right. So the work session of the 8th could be our public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
so next week, we're going 2, 3, and 4, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we've circled Thursday, Friday as possible if we need it, for department heads. Similar to what we did today. And then we need to sit down and make big town decisions.
All right?
So I think,
And then we have to schedule a special meeting for November 20th, or no, the Friday before, or for
On or
adoption?
before.
It has to be on or before, so,
if you're-
yeah, as long as it's.
Then
yeah, I mean, sometimes.
Oh, I see, we could do it on the 14th, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we could do it on the 14th if we don't have any big changes coming down the
Okay.
pipe, but if we have things we want to discuss.
All right.
Alrighty, so then we.
My new
will-
car talks to me.
Make a motion?
We will make a
Barb?
motion to adjourn this
Second.
budget
I'm not loud.
session until Monday at 1 o'clock.
Second.
Second. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Say a lot worse things.
I know.